Hey, Lily, you want to do the honors?
No, you go ahead. I need to take it in from here.
And take it in, I did. Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Natalie Megan and this is Weirdo Book Club. And today we are going to be talking about the book and now film, It Ends With Us. The time has finally come. This is a big microphone and I'll tell you why I have it. Some of y'all, no, one of y'all, left a comment on my video recently that said that my sound was all over the place. And unlike the author that we're going to discuss today, I heard this feedback about my low quality sound and decided to do something about it so that I don't keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again. But not everybody likes to learn, and I get that, I guess. But if you're like me and you do like to learn, then let's talk about today's sponsor, Skillshare. This is not an exaggeration. I've been using Skillshare and taking classes on there for years, long before any of you knew I existed. I've always loved learning, and I've taken several classes with them over the last decade. The class that I thought of immediately when this sponsorship came to fruition was the professional practice and illustration course that I took years ago that was taught by one of my favorite artists, Lisa Congdon. I actually credit Lisa in this course for getting me back into art and helping me find my signature style when it comes to drawing and illustration and hand lettering. She was an amazing instructor, and I still utilize some of the skills that I learned in this course to this day when I'm drawing or painting. But it's not just art, my friends. There's a ton of different things that you can choose to learn about. Whether it's film editing software, AI innovation, sound related lessons, or even things like watercolor, social media, and needlepoint. There are so many different topics to choose from, and their classes range from beginner level all the way up to expert. So whether you're brand new to a hobby or you're a seasoned member of your niche, I guarantee that you're going to be able to find something cool to explore. Learning from the inside out is a great way to hone a skill or learn a new one. Not only are the classes designed by creatives for creatives, but you can learn at your own pace. I know I utilized this very much back when I first started taking classes on Skillshare because I had toddlers and there were two of them and one of me. It was just very casual and a pleasant learning experience from beginning to end, and one that I can't recommend enough, truly. And the first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive 1 month free trial of Skillshare. So get going. And I know that you will because you're smart. That's why you're here after all. So happy learning, and thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. So Colleen Hoover, yeah, let's get into it. Colleen Hoover was one of the first authors that came screaming onto my For You page consistently when I first created my Book Talk account back in 2022. That's how the algorithm works after all, right? It found out that I liked books and planned to make bookish related content, just started throwing anything at me and hoping that some of it stuck. In my early days of Book Talk, I hadn't yet learned the lesson that this book would go on to show me, and that is that not every Book Talk rec deserves to be taken, nor will every Book Talk rec land for me. Originally, I read this in 2022 when I first saw it. I thought it was meh. I also read Verity, and I've also consumed other people's reviews on various other works like Ugly Love, November 9, and I just kind of gathered that Colleen Hoover is not for me, nor is she very... Never mind. During the time, after I read it and had my initial, meh opinion about it, I saw her attempt to release a coloring book inspired by the book, and then also a nail polish line that actually did get released. And it just seems like a really weird take of marketing and PR and merch for a book that centers around a domestically violent, abusive relationship. That's what we get most of the... That's all that it is. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. I wanted to review a Colleen Hoover book for a while now, but I've been so swept up in other things that I just really didn't want to do it to myself. And I knew that since it had been so long between my initial read and now, that would mean that I would have to go back in and read it again. I just didn't want to. But now that I've finished this behemoth, I feel like I have room in my life for slightly less horrific bad writing. So now we're doing it. Plus, the movie just released, starring Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. And I saw that too, so that review is going to be at the end. Speaking of Blake Lively, I know she's doing a bang-up job with the marketing. Hence my florals, hence my pretty pinks. Stuff, hence my hair. Because if it's one thing about Blake Lively, okay, one thing about Blake Lively, she's gonna show up and her hair is gonna look like she just rolled out of a dumpster.
Compliment me. Tell me my hair looks beautiful.
But your hair looks disgusting.
Always, always. So I was like, what can I do to mine? It never really looks that great. I don't really do a lot to my hair anyway, but it somehow always manages to look better than Blake Lively's hair. But so I was racking my brain. I was like, where can I go? Where can I draw inspiration from? How can I bring this to life? And I have to direct you back to my childhood and the two idols of my life at that time, Mary-Kate Olsen and Ashley Olsen. Now, they've had a lot of hairstyles over the years, all of which I freaking loved. I'll take no criticism, okay? They were ahead of their time and they always have been. But this one in particular, from their very short-lived So Little Time series on ABC Family, you couldn't have said anything bad about this and I would have, like, if you would have said something to me about this hairstyle back then, even now to this day, like, ugh, it's terrible. I would have fought you in the street like the dog that you are and then tossed your sorry butt and your terrible opinions in the trash where they belong.
You are such a loser.
And so maybe this will come back. Let me let you get a gander. Okay, show me what you're working with. Oh, okay. So it just felt right. It just felt right to do this to my hair today. And I don't know if this will turn into a trend or not. Probably not. I'm too old to be doing that. But it definitely is a nice little nod back to the hairstyles that I wanted so badly when I was young. And so today we are channeling Mary-Kate and Ashley in our florals. And we are going to get into It Ends With Us. Are you ready? Oh my God. Girly pop. We're going to have so much fun. Okay, so let's get into the details. It Ends With Us is a 386-page contemporary romance novel written by Colleen Hoover. As I stated, it was originally released in August 2016, and then just a few weeks ago, August 2024, the film came out. Much to our disappointment and worry and woe. And that was a whole 8 years that they could have, heard the feedback from the audience, because there was a ton of it. Sat with those big feelings, and then, worked with a team of experts to ensure that the film was not as poorly received and made and created and marketed as the book was, but that's not the case. Colleen learned nothing.
Jojo, have you learned nothing?
Let me do my disclaimers too before I forget about them completely. The first disclaimer is always the same. This review will contain spoilers, opinions, and general shit talking. If none of that appeals to you, if you're a diehard Coho stan or Coho herself, I doubt it, but you never know. Maybe don't stay here. I didn't like this book very much. I can only imagine that the film is probably going to garner the same opinion from me. If you choose to stay, even after I just told you that you might not like this, if you saw my face on the thumbnail talking shit about your favorite book and you still decided to stay out of spite, don't pop up in my comments going off, okay? Because I will just screenshot your comments, send them to my friends and laugh about it, and then block you from commenting further. I will never see another comment from you as long as I live. So you've been warned. If you don't think you're gonna like this, don't hang out. Number 2, there are topics in this book that are a little heavy, and I will be discussing some of it in depth. I usually try to give warnings before I get into a really touchy spot in the book, and there are content warnings that we'll go over in a minute, but this book deals with domestic violence in a big way, in a weird way. And it's very complicated and it's nuanced, and I'm ready to have that conversation with you, but just so you know, we will be discussing intimate partner violence and domestic violence today. Also, I tend to make a lot of jokes during videos like this, so I want to reiterate that I'm not making fun of actual victims of DV or intimate partner violence. And if you've been here for a while, I hope that what you take away from my videos is that I'm able to have a few kikis, but not do it in a shitty way that punches down. I'm trying to be mindful about it, and I hope that that's what comes across to you, but just so you know, I will be making a few jokes today, but I'm not making fun of domestic violence or intimate partner violence victims. Let's get to the synopsis. Yeah? Okay. I never read this before this exact moment. So yeah, we're learning together. I love doing that with you. Sometimes it's the one who loves you who hurts you the most. Lily hasn't always had it easy, but that's never stopped her from working hard for the life she wants. She's come a long way from the small town in Maine where she grew up. She graduated from college, moved to Boston, and started her own business. Girl Boston, am I right? So when she feels a spark with a gorgeous neurosurgeon named Ryle Kincaid,
it's Dr. Sexy.
everything in Lily's life suddenly seems almost too good to be true. Ryle is assertive, stubborn, maybe even a little arrogant. He's also sensitive, brilliant, and has a total soft spot for Lily. A soft spot. He has a hard spot. You know what I mean? And the way he looks in scrubs certainly doesn't hurt. My God, we know. She talks about it all the time. Every time he's wearing scrubs, she notes it. My God, he's a doctor. He's going to be wearing scrubs.
Randall, there is a cow outside.
There's a cow farm. You're gonna find cows outside.
Lily can't get him out of her head, but Ryle's complete aversion to relationships is disturbing. Even as Lily finds herself becoming the exception to his no dating rule, she can't help but wonder what made him this way in the first place. As questions about her new relationship overwhelm her, so do thoughts of Atlas Corrigan, her first love, and a link to the past she left behind. He was her kindred spirit, her protector. When Atlas suddenly reappears, everything that Lily has built with Ryle is threatened. Okay, I'm going to go over a little bit what this book is and what it isn't, because the synopsis kind of sends me in a different way than what I thought was happening, which is how the whole book was marketed and the film itself also. So I'm going to just be upfront with you again and say this is a book about a woman who gets in an abusive relationship and experiences domestic violence at the hands of her partner. That's what this is about. What the synopsis led me to believe just now, like if I was going in blind and I'd never known anything about this book, I would have thought that maybe we were going to get some infidelity. Maybe she's in love with this man, they get together, and then all of a sudden her ex is there and she like is conflicted. That's what it seems like. There's nothing in this synopsis that would make me believe that we were going to get domestic violence. Like nothing, absolutely nothing. So that's weird right off the bat. And it's also weird that it's marketed as a romance. This is the same conversation we've been having for 8 years. And I think that this is a theme that we see a lot with Colleen Hoover. Just this carelessness, this tone deaf delivery of things and just not doing what she thinks she's doing. Whatever, we'll get into it as we read. You'll see what I'm talking about. But I did also want to add that at the end of the book, in the author's note from Colleen Hoover, she says that this book was inspired by experiences that she lived through as a child watching her mother be abused by her father. And so that kind of colors it a little bit, because in the entire arc of the story, there is like this like theme of breaking the cycle. But at the same time, it's delivered in such a goofy way. And there's a little bit of like some concerning aspect of the whole thing that I don't know if anyone else has talked about, like with the sister specifically. The ending is kind of weird. We're going to get into all this, but I did want to note that I do think that you can tell in certain spots the sincerity and the genuine tone and voice from someone who's experienced this does come through in some of the instances. And it is sad to think that Colleen Hoover experienced this as a child. Her mother experienced this all the time. And it does kind of color the way I consumed this media, but not in enough of a way for it to escape any criticisms, because I feel like it was still kind of mishandled. And, you know, that's okay. We can learn from it, or I guess not. But in theory, I'd like to think that people do want to learn. Anyway, whatever. I'm getting off on a tangent and we've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's just get to the trigger and content warnings. Yeah? Shocking to probably no one, there are no content warnings given in the book, at least not the version I have. If you have a newer version and there are content warnings in it, why don't you let me know? However, after reading this myself and then looking around online, these are the ones I came up with. There might be some that I miss. I don't think that there are, but I'm a human and I make mistakes, so forgive me. Abusive relationship, alcohol abuse, cancer briefly discussed, childbirth, child neglect, and abandonment, depression, DV, graphic, infertility, brief mention and then it's resolved, parent death, off page, briefly discussed, pregnancy, sexually explicit scenes, self-unaliving, brief discussion. I'm not trying to be crass, I'm just trying to not get demonetized, and violence. All right, you ready? Ooh, I'm not. Dedication, let's start there. For my father, who tried his best not to be his worst, and for my mother, who made sure we never saw him at his worst. Like I said, this is a story that was inspired by Colleen's own abusive father and the dynamic she lived through with her mother in her childhood. And I think, again, that does color this story in a slightly different hue, slightly different hex code. But the end result still leaves me feeling pretty blah. And we'll dissect that and go into it along the way. I just wanted to say it again. And it's odd that the abusive romance novel that she wrote, inspired by the abuse that she herself saw, is then dedicated to the man who was doing the abuse. But that's none of my business, I guess. Before we get started in the chapters and everything, I want to tell you about the characters, okay? So first up, we have Lily Bloom. She is the 23-year-old person who just moved to Boston in hopes of starting up her own business. She currently lives with a roommate named Lucy, who is useless, and she is at a marketing firm doing something, because that's what she studied in school, I guess. But it's her dream to open up a flower shop. And honestly, it's my dream too. I am not going to do it because it sounds hard. And then she meets Ryle, who is a very handsome, I think almost 30 or 30-year-old, 28, I don't know, I don't remember, and I don't care, neurosurgeon. And he is determined, he's ambitious, and he wants to be the best neurosurgeon he can possibly be. They run into each other, a relationship starts. And then she starts walking us back through her past with a man named Atlas that she met when she was a child living in her abusive home. And he was squatting in a house behind her house as a fully 18-year-old senior that goes to the same school she goes to. And she noticed him back there, so she started leaving food for him and stuff like that, and a friendship unfolded from there. So that's really the whole thing. And this is kind of jumped back and forth between timelines because of a very, very unique plot device that Colleen Hoover has implemented here. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Calm down. But yeah, that's the setup. You ready? Okay, great. So chapter 1, Lily's dad has passed away and she is fresh out of the funeral, which has to be rough. Very complicated emotions coming up there, I'm sure. She was asked by her mother to give a eulogy and she didn't. I mean, she did. She stood there and said nothing because she couldn't think of anything nice to say about him. And honestly, I get that. And I applaud that. Lily is seeking refuge on a rooftop that she does not live under because she's got a lot of those big feelings coming up, right? So she's straddling the ledge of a 12-story building on the roof, and she's just thinking about self-unaliving. And this is our first meeting of Lily. How delightful. We're in for such a treat. As I sit here with one foot on either side of the ledge, am I supposed to be Blake Lively? As I sit here with one foot on either side of the ledge, looking down from 12 stories above the streets of Boston, I can't help but think about suicide. Not my own. I like my life enough to want to see it through. I'm more focused on other people and how they ultimately come to the decision to just end their own lives. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I can't be Blake forever. It's just exhausting. Do they ever regret it? In the moment after letting go, the second before they make impact, there has to be a little bit of remorse in the brief free fall. Do they look at the ground as it rushes towards them and think, well, crap, this was a bad idea. This is a little bit something. Yeah, it's like I know we all have dark thoughts. Sometimes I'm not always sane either, but this is a weird introduction to our main character. It seems weird. And if it was an attempt to be deep, I think they missed. But it would make sense that she's thinking about death. She just came from a funeral, right? So that makes sense. But this is a little weird. But anyway, big day for Lil. She tells us a little bit more about the funeral. It was the funeral of the prodigious Andrew Bloom, after all. Adored mayor of my hometown, Plethora, Maine, owner of the most successful real estate agency within city limits, husband to the highly adored Jenny Bloom, the most revered teaching assistant in all of Plethora, and father of Lily Bloom. The strange girl with the erratic red hair who once fell in love with a homeless guy and brought shame to their family.
Shame!
That's a lot, Lily. That is a lot. I don't know where to begin. And just when she is savoring this moment of peace that she's finally deserved and earned after such a long, big day, someone comes barging onto this roof, disrupting this deeply introspective moment about other people dying. And just her luck, it's a man. A white man? No! She's trying to decide whether to alert him to her presence or just like slink off. And before she can, he just starts going ham on the patio furniture, which are made of marine grade polymer, which she tells us several times. And I'm not real sure what that's about, but go off. Anyway, he's just kicking and throwing and hissing and spraying. And she's like, oh, wow, that's admirable that he can express himself in such a way. Look at him go. Look at him express himself. Because apparently when she expresses her anger, when she's feeling all these things, she just holds it inside until it becomes passive aggression. And then gardens. And like that sounds healthier-ish, not the holding it in, but the gardening as a release, as a way of expressing yourself, than this. But hey, we love meeting a man who displays momentary losses of control in violent ways. I agree. This is so much better. Then he takes a few deep breaths before letting up a joint. I'm 23. I've been through college and have done the very same recreational drug a time or two. I'm not going to judge this guy for feeling the need to toke up in private, but that's the thing. He's not in private. He just doesn't know that yet. 420 blaze it, dog. I'm telling you, up top, I've done that recreational drug as well. No, I haven't. No shade to it. I just haven't done it, but I'm going to pretend. Also, he's not in private. He's not in public, and he's not alone, but he's not in private. He's not in Times Square doing this. Like, there's a different, like words mean things. He's not in private. Obviously, you got up here on this roof. If this roof was private, you wouldn't be up here because you don't live in this building. But whatever. He finally spots her and is like, hi, would you kindly get down?
Pink, get down.
And she's like, nah, I'm good. And he's like, please? You're harshing my mellow? Or whatever fellow weed smokers like us say, right? Blaze it. She finally gets down. He's like, okay, great. And then she's like, oh my God, he's cute. But no, cute is an insult. This guy's beautiful. Well manicured, smells like money, looks to be several years older than me. His eyes crinkle at the corners as they follow me, and his lips seem to frown even when they aren't. When I reach the side of the building that overlooks the street, I lean forward and stare down at the cars below, trying not to appear impressed by him. I can tell by his haircut alone that he's the kind of man people are easily impressed by, and I refuse used to feed into his ego. Not that he's done anything to make me think he ever has one, but he is wearing a casual Burberry shirt, and I'm not sure I've ever been on the radar of someone who could casually afford one. Smells like money. Money smells like shit, Lily. Money smells like coke people have done in bathrooms. Money smells like sweat and fecal matter. Like, we love it, all hail the pillar of capitalism, but money doesn't smell good. I've never met a person that smelled like money, though. And I have met people who smell rich and luxurious and like they're freshly showered and cologned in something expensive. But if Ryle smells like money, ew. Also, how do you know it's a Burberry shirt? Like, unless it's one of these shirts that has its iconic pattern or one of their logo tees, how do you know that it's a Burberry shirt? I don't think I would be able to spot it. Actually, even before I Googled this, I forgot that this was the pattern of Burberry because I don't care and I don't come from that kind of a lifestyle where I know the fabrics and patterns of high-end brands. She also mentions how tight his shirt is around his arms. He's got huge neurosurgeon arms, apparently, and that is funny because I didn't know that was part of being a neurosurgeon. Buy bigger clothes. Also, buy some clothes that fit you. But again, if it is a $500 casual Burberry shirt, I would have to just suffer through the growth and changes of my body too. I'm not buying another one. I wouldn't buy one to begin with, but I definitely wouldn't be buying two. They're chatting. He kindly shares this little tidbit of information that some guy fell to his the other day off of this exact roof, which great icebreaker, I guess. And then he tells her that he lives downstairs with his sister and brother-in-law, who are both stupid rich, and they own the whole top floor. And he is in his last year of neurosurgeon residency in hopes of becoming the best of the best of the best, sir. And then he gives his name, which is Ryle, and it's ugly, and I hate it. And Lily's like, your name's so much better than mine. And we find out her full name, Lily Blossom Bloom. She's like, that's the name of a toddler, not a 23-year-old woman. And it's so much worse because of her love for flowers and gardening and all things that grow. Yeah, it would be if I encountered it in the wild. That would be pretty weird that it just can't happen to work out like that. But when it's orchestrated by someone writing this story, it's just cheesy. Anyway, she starts talking about her dad and how he passed away and how she kind of hated him as a person but loved him as her father. And Ryle says that he really likes her honesty. Too many assholes out here faking who they are when underneath, we're all equally effed up. And Lily says something about how naked truths are never pretty. And that leads us into another really dumb part of the story, which is this game that they have come up with now called Naked Truths, which is basically just them telling each other things. It's just communicating. Yeah, but it's basically to signal anytime the conversation is about to stop being polite and start getting real. It annoys the shit out of me. And if you've been here and you've seen some of my videos, before you come for my serious cap moments, I want you to remember that this is a video. And I use my serious cap in attempt to tell you, the viewer, that we're about to experience a tone shift together so that we can be on the same page. It's a signal. It's a tool that I use for my videos to make them better to watch. This is real life, or this is supposed to be real life. We're supposed to assume that this is a casual conversation between two people on a rooftop. So if you and I are out and we're just having dinner and we're having a nice time and I just casually go like, right. No, I told her, serious cat, my dog died. You would think that I was weird, first of all, I hope. And then you would also think that maybe I've never had a conversation with another person before. Like, also, I don't have a dog. The dog is fine, okay? The last dog I had was like a childhood pet. May he rest. Anyway, naked truth time. Take it away, Lils. My father was abusive. Not to me, to my mother. He would get so angry that they fought sometimes and he would hit her. When that happened, he would spend the next week or so making up for it. He would do things like buy her flowers or take us out to nice dinners. Sometimes he would buy me stuff because he knew I hated it when they fought. When I was a kid, I found myself looking forward to nights that they would fight because I knew if he hit her, the 2 weeks that followed would be great. I pause. I'm not sure I've ever admitted that to myself. Of course, if I could, I would have made it to where he never touched her, but the abuse was inevitable with their marriage and it became our norm. When I got older, I realized not doing something about it made me just as guilty. And I spent most of my life hating him for being such a bad person, but I'm not sure I'm much better. Maybe we're both bad people. Now, I don't have a lot of experience with DV or things like that, but I do have some, and so I get this, and I think a lot of other survivors would understand this too. But then Ryle comes in with a zinger. Straight up knowledge plucked from the tree of awesomeness. Lily, he says pointedly, there's no such thing as bad people. We're all just people who sometimes do bad things. I open my mouth to respond, but his words strike me silent. We're all just people who sometimes do bad things. Man, my dude is a facts machine. Anyway, she says it's his turn for a naked truth. Oh, so excited. So he says that he watched a little boy die tonight. Oh, gun violence. Pop that into the disclaimer. In the hospital, apparently he and his brother were playing with a firearm that was loaded that they found in their parents' room. It went off and the young boy did not make it. It's very tragic. Lily's like, wow, I can't imagine what that other brother is feeling knowing that he lived through that and saw that. And Ryle's like, oh, it'll mess him up for life. That's for sure. Lily's turn again, and she tells him how she basically froze at the eulogy. Actually, she acts it out. We love a skit. And to that, Ryle's like, wow, you're kind of my hero. You roasted a dead dude. Ponage! Epic roast mode engaged. Fam. Pass the marijuana cigarette, you fellow groovy human. She's like, your turn. Top that. And it's basically this scene from Teen Witch.
I will make a fool of you. Top that.
But with trauma dumping and no rapping, sadly. Top that. But he delivers, though. He does, in fact, top that. I want to you. Wow. She's stunned, but not just because he said that, but more so because neurosurgeons don't talk like that, do they? Are we only drawing inspiration for how neurosurgeons act from Grey's Anatomy? Because that was on daytime television. So they couldn't just be dropping the F-bomb, but I guarantee you that if McDreamy had an issue in private, in real life, he was dropping them. Sloan was saying the F word. Okay, they were saying that. What are we doing? This neurosurgeon's different. He says the F word and smokes the reefer. Lily's turn again, so she shares how she lost her V card. Okay, since we're on the subject, the first guy I ever had with was homeless. And knowing what I do about the story and where it goes, I think this is pretty kind of gross. Yeah. Like the fact that she just casually tosses it out there in an attempt to one up this shock value game that they just started playing with each other with a stranger. Just keep that in mind for later. Anyway, homeless dude's name was Atlas, and he, like I said, was squatting in the house behind her house. They got close and became friends. A relationship unfolded. They had smacks. And then her dad beat the crap out of him and she never saw him again. Remember this for later. Ryle's turn. Oh, this is so much fun. Okay, so despite being 30, he is 30, okay. He doesn't ever want to get married and absolutely doesn't want to have kids. Blah, which is fine. Child-free by choice is a whole thing and it's totally valid. For men, women, and anyone, really. You don't have to have children if you don't want any. It's not revolutionary. But he continues saying that they would just get in the way of his aforementioned dreams of being the best neurosurgeon this side of the Mississippi. The McDreamy of Boston, so to speak. Wasn't McDreamy originally from Boston? Or at least the East Coast? Where was he? I don't know. Let's just stop. Anyway, he says, not everybody has my drive and my ambition, so kids would just get in the way of that. If I had them, it would just be setting them up for failure. Interesting. Lily's stilled again, just impressed that he just says exactly what he means. And it's a game where you speak plainly and share your naked truths. Why is this so exciting that he's saying his naked truth? Like when I play Uno with my kids and they remember to say Uno, I'm not stunned. It's the game. That's part of it. But anyway, she's like, well, how do you not date? Do you just not date? And he's like, I have girls that satisfy those needs. I don't lack in that department, but love has never appealed to me. Shucks, because Lily has this idea that there's a perfect man out there waiting for her somewhere, and she is on the holy grail quest to find him. And she could never sleep with someone if it wasn't going anywhere. Never, ever, ever. It seems they're at an impasse, right? He doesn't want a relationship. They're both being so upfront about their wants and desires. They're being completely honest with each other, and their goals don't line up. Their wants and their dreams don't align. So they share a couple more naked truths, and then they realize that in spite of the mutual attraction that is obviously there, that nothing's ever going to come of this, and they say goodnight and go their separate ways. Just kidding. He's like, how far would you go? And then pulls her chair closer to him. Love this. The entire book has the undercurrent of I can change them on several different sides. They kind of get to first base a little bit, I guess. I don't remember. But then his phone rings. It's the hospital. It snaps him back to reality and he's got to go. Before he does, though, he snaps a picture of her on his phone while she's lounging in those marine gray polymer chairs. And then wishes her well and says goodbye. She is alone on the roof yet again. And a mixture of sadness and confusion swirls around her. Again, it has been a big day for Lils. I'm not sure that I've ever spent time with someone like him before. Someone of a completely different lifestyle and tax bracket. That's interesting. Chapter 2, Lily goes back to her apartment. Her useless roommate is there, and she has some boxes that she brought back from her parents' house, I guess, after the funeral, and she starts going through them. Her mom calls, and she's like, oh, honey, don't feel bad about freezing up at the eulogy, and Lily's like, cool, I don't. She doesn't say that, of course, but she thinks it. They hang up, and the plot device to rule all the plot devices is here. Are you ready? She uncovers in one of the boxes her journals from childhood, and not just any journals. Regular journals and diaries are for normies. They're for squares, okay? Lily's different. Lily is a perfect flower. Her journals are letters. These aren't just ordinary letters, no. But wait, there's more. They are actually written, unsent, but written to the one-time beloved daytime talk show host, Ellen DeGeneres. Now, I've seen people talk about this. And I've seen people not and say that it didn't really bother them because she's 15. And listen, I'm trying to go back, okay? This is me when I was 15. And when I was 15, I was really into Linkin Park, Tomb Raider. I played softball. I was a pitcher on a fast pitch team in my high school. And women. I had just found out that I liked women. So that was my mindset around 15. And I had a couple of dumb things in my life that I've done. I know, it's hard to believe. I'm so cool. And I must have always been this way. That's not true. But I really don't understand this at all. I remember being 15. I remember being dumb. I remember getting into fights with my mom, and then I would slam the door and I would put on Hybrid Theory, crank it up, because I knew that those lyrics would get through to my mom in a way that I wasn't able to. It did not work. She did not care that I was mad. And I was collecting Fear Street novels by R.L. Stine at that time. I was going to the mall. Like, I don't get this whole Ellen DeGeneres thing. I was interested in Whose Line Is It Anyway? And as far as celebrities go, around 15, I guess Michelle Rodriguez had screamed onto my radar. Thank you, Blue Crush and Fast and Furious. And then also the Olsen twins. Like, I could not escape them. And I just thought they were the coolest. I wasn't completely enamored by a celebrity twice my age. Yeah, it just seems strange. But anyway, whatever. She's 15. This is her outlet. This is hers. So I'm going to leave her alone some of the time. Anyway, she starts going through the letters, and I'm not going to read them in full because no thanks. So I'm just going to paraphrase the first few. Hey, Ellen, big fan here. And I got to say, it's boring when you dance on the show, so I fast forward through it. Roast mode? I thought... God, kids are mean. Kids are freaking mean. There's a homeless guy that goes to my school. He rides my bus and gets off at my stop, but he just goes into this abandoned house by himself right behind mine. I don't know if I should tell someone or not. I'll just watch him for now. Okay, girl. So someone at school gave me the tea. His name is Atlas Corrigan. He's a senior and he stinks. Ugh. This tea is lukewarm at best. She just told you everything you already know except for his name, and you could have found that out if you flipped through a yearbook. I took some snacks and drinks over there and left them outside, and I was going to watch from my window when I got back, but the bag was already gone. While waiting for the bus today, he whispered, "Thank you," and it gave me the chills. Has a boy's voice ever done that to you, Ellen? Oh, wait, you're big Les. Has a woman's voice ever done that to you? Again, she's a kid, but it's just so goddamn stupid. In the words of Adeline, it's almost too stupid to be real. She invites Atlas over to her house so that he can shower and, they have their first conversation. She tells Ellen all about it. I don't care. And I can't imagine a world where Ellen would care. But like I said, kids are stupid, so we must press on. He showers and he thanks her for, quote, not being disparaging. And she's confused. How does a guy who's obviously humble, well-mannered, and uses words like disparaging end up homeless? How does any teenager end up homeless? Don't worry, Ellen. She isn't. I'm gonna find out. Her mom calls back and juts her back into the present and out of her past journal entries, which were absolutely riveting, to say, what do you think about me moving to Boston? And Lily's like, Obviously a complicated relationship is at play between these two. Yeah. Chapter 3 is 6 months later. Damn. Lily is showing her mom the storefront that she bought with the inheritance that was left from her dad, and Lily's mom is not really impressed. Lily could quite literally crash and burn here since she has no savings, and she put all her money into this, and she just quit her job, so... But her mom is like, just be bold and brave, Lily. Be bold and brave. And then dips, just in time for someone else to show up, a young woman named Alyssa. She's basically a rich manic pixie dream girl. She's said to be well-dressed, but she's also said to be wearing white capri pants, so I'm going to let you decide. Alyssa's like, there's a help wanted sign in the window, and Lily's like, oh, I didn't put it there, and I'm not really in the position to hire anybody. And Alyssa's like, I'll work for free, girly pop. I love flowers. I'm basically a Pinterest whore. I love this space. So much potential. I'll work for free. It's no big deal. Just give me something to do with my empty, childless life. She didn't say that, but that's basically what we've got coming. And she's like, what? No, let me pay you. Alyssa's like, game on, let's go. So they start like going through stuff, sorting through things, throwing things away, all that. 2 hours later, and a lot's gotten done. Always easier to work in a team. So they sit down and they dream up a vision board. And I'm not going to shortchange you on this because you need to be a part of this creative process. It's not every day you get the inside scoop, the look behind the veil of a creative mind, okay? So I'm going to take you with me. So basically the idea is that Lily is going to make her flower shop the antithesis of everything that flowers stand for. It's going to be HXC florals. And she also attempts to connect this stupid idea with that dumb throwaway line that shook her to her core that a stranger gave her 6 months ago on a rooftop. Someone once told me that there's no such thing as bad people. We're all just people who sometimes do the bad things. That stuck with me because it's so true. We've all got a little bit of good and evil in us. I want to make that our theme. Instead of painting the walls a putrid sweet color, we paint them dark purple with black accents. And instead of only putting out the usual pastel displays of flowers and boring crystal faces that make people think of life, we go edgy.
Oh, I'm edgy. I'm on fire.
Brave and bold. We put out displays of darker flowers wrapped in things like leather and silver chains. And rather than put them in crystal vases, we stick them in black onyx or, I don't know, purple velvet vases lined with silver studs. The ideas are endless. I stand up again. There are floral shops on every corner for people who love flowers, but what floral shop caters to all the people who hate flowers? Alyssa shakes her head and says, none of them. Exactly. None of them. We stare at each other for a moment, then I can't take it another second. I'm bursting with excitement. I just start laughing like a giddy child. Alyssa starts laughing too, and she jumps up and hugs me. Lily, it's so twisted. It's brilliant. Who hates flowers and then goes looking for flowers to purchase? Stupid. And then also, I'd shop there. Actually, I would shop there. Maybe I wouldn't be a patron. I don't typically need black flowers wrapped in leather, but I definitely would pop in once or twice just to have a look around. Once again, can we revisit how I don't really understand why she's so enamored with this seemingly obvious and boring observation that Ryle did? Like, duh, people can have layers to them. Duh, good people can do bad things and vice versa. The duality of man is not a new concept. Especially, I'm a little bit disappointed. She said she went to college. And as a 2-time college dropout myself, I took a philosophy class. I'm pretty sure it came up in that first Intro 101 class. However, if I time travel back to my late teens, early 20s, I'm not too proud to say that I too was often impressed by male mediocrity and pseudo-intellectualism. Maybe I'll just be quiet. And I don't really know what this whole dumb observation, again, has anything to do with the concept of making a flower shop that Zaid Meadows would have a punch card for. Like, cut it out. Anyway, she's alive with the fire of this ingenious idea, and they get to work, and she writes down a business plan, or she goes into the room that's going to be her office, but it's super cluttered. So she stands up on a chair and starts stacking boxes up higher so there's more room to wiggle around, and she falls and hurts her ankle. Bella, where the hell you been, Loca? Thankfully, Alyssa's husband and his best friend / her brother are right down the street, and they can get here lickety split. And her brother is a doctor, so that's whew. They were at a bar that gives free beers out to people who show up in onesies. But that isn't what Lily notices when they arrive. No, she notices one of the man's arms. The arms of a neurosurgeon.
It's him. It's Dr. Sexy.
No surprise here. It's Ryle. They pretend like they don't know each other for some reason, and he takes a look at Lily's ankle. Alyssa's husband's name is Marshall, and they both step out of the room for a bit while he looks at her ankle, and then they start actually like having a real conversation and play another game of Naked Truth. Ugh. Lily's like, I had to talk myself out of going back to that roof several times now. You make me nervous. And he's like, my turn? I still very much want to you. And Alyssa walks in right when he delivers this line. And while he's stroking her naked foot, Alyssa's mortified, as am I, as are we all. But Lily isn't. She's like, it's chill, babes. Everybody wants to me. It's not a big deal. Your brother is très chic for just speaking his mind and his truth. Can I speak my mind and my truth? fuck? He wraps her ankle, tells her it's not broken. Alyssa and Marshall dip out and go to CVS to grab drinks for everybody and give these two a moment. So sweet. Ryle's like, you hired my sister? She's never had a job in her life. And Lily's like, yeah, I did, but super duper swear I didn't know she was your sister. I'm not trying to trap you or anything. We want different things, remember? Babes, you had one conversation and got to first base with this stranger on a rooftop over half a year ago. I don't think that he would think that you were trying to trap him. None of us were thinking that until you said that. But naked truth time again for Lils. I like you, Ryle. Could you please stop saying things that make me feel all dizzy? And he's like, I like you too, but I think we should not be around each other. It will make things harder. We should just stay away. They spit shake on it. They don't, but I had you going there for a minute, didn't I? Alyssa and Marshall return, and Lily's like, can you help me to the car so I can go home? And Alyssa's like, yeah, just leave me the keys and I'll clean up over the next week while you're on bed rest. Yeah, just leave your keys with a stranger you just met that seems a little erratic and is related to the guy that you need to stay away from. Yeah. Chapter 4, she hobbles back to her apartment and finds her useless roommate lounging in the living room talking on the phone that Lily was in fact blowing up to get her to come help her up the stairs, but she was too busy talking to her boyfriend, so whatever. So Lily goes in her room, she's a little peeved, and she calls her mom to help her come bring stuff. I bet you're happy she moved to Boston now, huh? She starts feeling all types of ways, which leads her back to her dreaded Ellen letters, God help us. She opens one that starts off by telling Ellen that the vacuuming skit she did while hosting the Oscars made her, quote, piss her pants. Kids are weird. Atlas, the homeless 18-year-old senior boy that lives in the yard, if you recall, sat next to her on the bus one day. I'm paraphrasing the letters again. So he sat next to her on the bus, gave her a gift. It's a bag of old gardening tools. It's a thank you for not being disparaging, I suppose. He also asked her how old she is, and when she says 15, she then tells us that the look in his eyes made it seem like he's a little bit sad about my age, but I don't know why. How delightful. I do. She continues to give him snacks and let him use the shower and let him watch TV through her bedroom window when he's at home, all on the quest to get the tea on how this hottie is homeless. She mentions a little bit about the abuse that she witnesses her mom go through at the hands of her dad, and she does start to share a little bit more of that with Ellen. Again, I know that this is serious, but she's writing it to Ellen DeGeneres. She says, I don't care if she's too poor to leave him and we'd have to move into a crappy apartment and eat ramen noodles until I graduate. That would be better than this. And to be honest, that's completely understandable. She's a young girl and she's witnessing this abuse and she's probably feeling a lot of big things right now with no real way to express them and no one to listen to her or care or do anything. It is really hard to be a kid in this kind of a situation, especially when it's involving the people that you love and the people that are supposed to be taking care of you. It's very painful. It's conflicting. My heart goes out to anyone who's experienced this. Her dad seems to be in a mood tonight, so she's worried about her mom. I do want to point out again that this whole thing coming from the perspective of a child really does paint this aspect of the story a little bit more in an honest way. It's very accurate. It reads very genuine. And Colleen writes very immaturely anyway, so this really works well at conveying the feelings of a young girl living in an abusive home. That's kind of like a backhanded compliment, I guess. But it's a compliment, so you're welcome. Anyway, her dad's in a mood, so she starts to go downstairs to see if she can diffuse the situation, because sometimes that works. He sees her and then he doesn't hurt her mom. He is gone already, and then when she tries to tend to her mom's just like, go away, Lily, I'm fine. And so she runs to Atlas's house and stays with him for a while, or sits on the porch. I don't know. Then they see her bedroom light go on and she knows she needs to go home. She also notes that she never noticed how clear of a shot into her bedroom Atlas has until now. I wonder if he's ever seen me walking around in just a t-shirt. Here's the crazy thing about that, Ellen. I was kind of hoping that he had. Yikes. Again, kids are weird. And she's going through some tough stuff. I'm trying my best to leave her alone. Present Lily decides no more journals for the night because it's just starting to really wear on her. And it puts her in a bad mood reading about all this and rehashing all of this, which is valid. She starts to fall asleep thinking of Ryle. But that makes her sad and angry too. So she switches gears to feeling thankful for Alyssa because she could really use a friend right now. Chapter 5. It's been a whole week since she's left her house, which means that Alyssa's just been chilling with the keys the whole time. Good thing you've known her for 10 minutes. She finally gets back to her shop, and so much has been done. So much has been cleared out and cleaned. They pick paint colors together, and damn, it feels good to be back. She goes home feeling full, honestly. But of course, Ryle shows up and ruins it in this really desperate, stupid way. He's out of breath, in scrubs, standing in her doorway, claiming to have just knocked on 29 different people's doors. Because I didn't tell you this, but when they first met, he was like, why are you up here? You don't live here. I've never seen you in this building before. And she points out her building and says, you can't see my building from here, but that tall building, I live next to it. So she told him her building, but didn't tell him the number or her apartment. So he just starts being a menace to everyone who happens to live in this building in search of her. Why is he searching for her? Maybe something happened to the store. Maybe something's wrong with Alyssa. No, he had to see her because he's got a big, naked truth to share. These next couple of months are the most important months of my entire career, and I have to be focused. I'm closing in on I'm closing in on the end of my residency, and then I'll have to sit for my exams. But for the past week, I haven't been able to get you out of my head. I don't know why. At work, at home, all I can think about is how crazy it feels when I'm near you, and I need you to make it stop, Lily. Please make it stop. Just once. That's all it'll take. I swear. Are you picking up what he's putting down? She is. She's like, I'm so sorry. I beg all the pardons. Did you just come over here and knock on 29 of my neighbors' doors in an attempt to hunt me down and beg me for so that you can clear your mind and then never have to think of me or see me again? And he's like, well, yeah, if you say it like that. It sounds pretty bad regardless, you creep. Like, that's really, really strange. That's strange, creepy behavior. She says no. He starts to leave, but he doesn't. Instead, he just like cages her head in between his hands on the wall, which is not scary at all, not concerning, not a red flag. It's green. It's chartreuse. I don't know green words. Please, Lily, I'm really good at it. You won't even have to do anything. Sir, don't tempt me with a medium okay time. She manages to get him out of her apartment and back into the hallway where he just dramatically drops to his knees and continues to beg and make a fool of himself. She's like, get up. This is embarrassing. And I agree. This is so freaking embarrassing. She says she's not feeling super sexy right now. She just worked all day long and she's gross. But if he wants to come in and wait for her to shower, maybe. It's a hard maybe. So he does. He comes in and he gets in her bed and she showers for like an hour. That may be seeming more like a yes. Like she did a full body showering. You know what I'm talking about. But then she comes out coiffed and plucked and smooth and lotioned and exfoliated, and he's asleep and she can't wake him up, so she just kind of giggles, takes a picture of him on his phone so that he'll never forget this moment, and then crawls in bed next to him and they go to sleep. So sweet. Time skip. It's the next morning and he awkwardly wakes up being like, I'm sorry, you have no idea. You'll never see me again. She wishes him well and he leaves. And she refuses to mope around because she's bold and brave and booked and busy. Girl has no time for this kind of flimflammery. Chapter 6. It's been 53 days since Ryle walked out of my apartment.
It's been 84 years.
But that's okay, because like I said, she has been busy for every single one of those 53 days because the store is finally ready to open. It's a soft launch. Don't get too excited. The Ed Hardy Flower Shop is open for business. And who is their very first customer? I wonder. Ryle. He buys a bouquet of purple lilies for a girl he barely even thinks about ever. Lily rings him up, and she can't help but feel a little J. She's a little jealous. She knows she shouldn't be, but she is. Alyssa mentions that she's having a birthday, and she asks Ryle if he's going to bring this girl with him, and he's like, nah, you going, Lily? And Lily starts to say no, but then Alyssa threatens to quit if she doesn't, and so Ryle pays for the flowers and says congratulations to Lily before dipping. He also was supposed to write the name and address to the person he wants these flowers delivered to on the card, but instead of doing that, he messed up and wrote the address of the floral shop on one side, and then on the back he wrote, make it stop. Alyssa's still in advanced darkness when it comes to these two, so she texts him saying, you screwed up, Dumbo, and Lily takes the flowers to her office to keep them there until they sort out where they really belong. Chapter 7, it's Alyssa's party, and Lily brought a date with her, which is just her gay bestie from the marketing place, and he's supposed to like run interference. She's given him cliff notes of this whole thing, and he's just there to act as a buffer. We've all been there. Alyssa answers the door with a glass of champagne in one hand and a riding crop in the other. She's such a silly squirrel. And she says, it's a long story. Please never tell it to me. Ryle notices that she has a date, and so when he's off working the room, he like slinks over as Lily is staring at this portrait on Alyssa's living room wall, and she's like, I don't really get it. It seems really weird, but oh well. And Ryle comes up behind her and is like, do you like it? You brought a date. You brought a date. Like, not weird, and I'll back away from me. We are not involved. Go breathe on someone else. He does. He scurries away, and then she realizes what the picture is. It's actually a super zoomed in, enlarged portrait of the picture that he snapped of her the first night on the roof. Not weird. Not weird at all that he took it. Not weird that he had it mounted and blown up and stretched over canvas and hung on his sister's living room wall. No, that's not weird. That is not weird. But this is something that gets Lily a little bit more pissed off than she has been. Buy me flowers, you put pictures of me on the wall, and I'm not supposed to swoon, but then you show up begging for sex and then like pass out before we can do it. Stop sending me all these mixed signals. He shows back up and then asks everybody to leave the room so that he can talk to Lily because he wanted to give her an opportunity to speak her naked truth. So she does. And she pops off. You don't get it, do you? I like you, Ryle, and knowing that you only want me for one night makes me really, really sad. And maybe if this were a few months ago, we could have had sex and it would have been fine. You would have walked away and I could have easily moved on, but it's not a few months ago. You waited too long and now too many pieces of me are invested in you, so please stop flirting with me. Stop hanging pictures of me in your apartment. Stop sending me flowers, because when you do these things, it doesn't feel good, Ryle. It actually kind of hurts. Yes, bitch. Set him straight. Tell him how it is. Tell it like it is. Snaps in a Z formation. Girl, get it. And Ryle hears all of this, says goodbye to her, and leaves her alone. JK, she leaves and tells Devin, her date, that it's time to go. But then Ryle comes up as they're saying their goodbyes and picks her up, no shit, princess style, and tells Devin, you mind if I borrow her? And Lily's like, and Devin's like, sure, bro. What the fuck is this? Traitor! He carries her through the party. Everybody is staring, embarrassing her. I'm not going to say that this wouldn't have worked on me in my early 20s, but I'm not in my early 20s. Don't fall for it. He sets her down in his bedroom, closing the door behind her, and then kisses her up against a wall. Yikes. But oh man, she is jello because this boy can kiss. More so, he can talk. Basically, he's like, you're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. That's why I did this creepy picture thing. You're special. And that's why I was a menace to everybody in your building, begging for things. That he's hurting too, and until this moment, he didn't really know why. But the reason is because she makes him feel all funny, and he has no idea what he's doing. But he wants to know what he can do to prove to her that he could be different, that he wants more from her than just one night. Give me just one night. Una noche. What a terrible song. Bitch, I got some ideas. Change everything about your personality. Stop carrying me against my will through rooms and making a spectacle of yourself at every turn. Buy some motherfucking shirts that fit and fall into a volcano. That's how you can prove it to me. I will mourn you and the memory of what we could have had. On the way down. She doesn't take any of my advice, though. She just says, don't sleep with me. Check. That's what y'all are already doing. That's what you and everyone in the world are currently doing. But okay, sure. That's like the proof that she needs is them not sleeping together. And he's like, bet. So he just takes her clothes off, starts undressing her and himself because they're going to sleep now. Not only do I love when people disrespect my boundaries and my words and my feelings, but I double love being told what to do by those people. I eat it up. This is a dream. This is a gift. My hair's going flat. This is so sad. But eventually she gives in because of course she does. And she takes a moment to assess the room. And she's like, your sister really is stupid rich. What does she do? Wipe her ass with my paychecks that I give her? And he's like, she probably doesn't even cash them. Good night. Why is Alyssa the manic pixie dream girl Karen Walker? Time skips. She wakes up and takes a second to remember where she is. And then she can't find her dress because, remember, he took it off of her. So she pulls on one of his shirts that goes way past her knees. I wonder if he has to buy shirts that are too big for him just so they'll fit his arms. But they don't fit his arms. Remember? She stumbles her way to the kitchen and thank the Lord's above there's a coffee machine. And Alyssa's in there looking disheveled because she had a little too much fun at her party. And they start talking about how rich Alyssa is, but then they switch because Alyssa needs to tell her something about Ryle now that she's kind of getting that something's going on here. No naked truths, just a conversation. Imagine that. Alyssa's happy for them, but she also knows her brother. And when she starts to tell Lily a little bit more about what she's worried about, Ryle shows up. Great timing. He kisses Lily, but she's like super distracted by how hot he is. And he goes, no, please continue. Sounded like you were about to warn her about me. And I'd love to hear what you were going to say. And that's scary. Is it not? Because if you know what I know in the future, and if Alyssa knows what I know, she's trying to warn Lily about his violent tendencies. And he shows up to intimidate her in hopes of keeping her from sharing this information with Lily. Yikes. Alyssa's like, she's my friend, and I know your history with women. You don't have a great track record. And Ryle's like, yeah, well, you're my sister, so I would hope you'd have a little bit more faith in me. Faith is belief without proof, right? That's what it is. You have no proof. You cannot see it. You just have to blindly believe. But it sounds like she has evidence to disprove any faith that she might have in you. And as a doctor, you should probably understand that, but I guess not, because you're an abusive piece of shit. So Ryle's annoyed, so he leaves, and Lily follows him, and he's in his room just looking at the phone. And he's like, I have a really important surgery coming up, so I might not see you for several days, which is weird because McDreamy would never. But sure. And she's disappointed, but she's going to be busy too, so it's going to be fine. The grand opening is on Friday, and he's like, I'll definitely see you before Friday. And they kiss, he gets dressed, she ogles him, I vomit. Chapter 8. Her useless roommate Lucy is moving out, and she's super stoked about it because now she can bang Ryle and they can be as loud as they want to. Yes! They've decided to move forward on a trial run basis, no commitment, no strings of this whole thing, just to see if anything comes of it. She finally gave him her number, but she'll be darned if she's the one who texts first. So instead, she reads more Ellen letters, a win for all of us. She tells Ellen a random story about a distant relative, and it's pointless, but then she says that it's starting to get cold, so Atlas needs blankets stat. She also tells Ellen that Atlas spent some time with her in her backyard garden, just hanging out and helping her tend to plants, asking questions, stuff like that. And she's like, Atlas is my favorite person. He might be the best friend I've ever had. And that's really sad considering she's a 15-year-old girl, but she goes on to explain that she doesn't really have a lot of friends. She doesn't go a lot of places. People are not allowed to come to her house for obvious reasons. And it just kind of speaks again to this really accurate and honest portrayal of a kid who's living in this kind of a situation, because the parent who is being abusive doesn't want other kids over at the house because they might notice something or see something. And so it just is very isolating for a kid in a position like this. And it makes me sad for her and anyone who has ever gone through something like this. Can't be sad long, though, because one minute they're connecting over how alike they are and swapping stories and all this stuff. And then things get a little intense as he closes the distance between them. But oh my God, you might want to take a quick shower before you go back. Compost is made from cow manure. Cow manure? Seriously? I grinned and nodded. He laughed a little, and then before I knew it, he was on the ground next to me, wiping his hands all over me. We were both laughing as he reached to the bag next to us and stuck his hand inside, then smeared it down my arms. Ellen! I am confident that the next sentence I'm about to write has never been written or spoken aloud before. When he was wiping that cow shit on me, it was quite possibly the most turned on I've ever been. Listen, I was a weird kid, okay? I was a weird kid. I have some weird trauma around intimacy from childhood. I also grew up next door to a literal cow pasture. My neighbor and best friend, her dad, owned cows, several acres of land and cows. All I had to do to get some was roll under the electric fence and frisbee a cow pie into my backyard. All of this to say, cows has never been sexy. It's not real. It's never been real. Even in my most hormonal, sexually charged years, the proximity between my arousal and cow shit, both mentally and physically, is literal light years, and it always has been. So there's weird kids, and there's this. But again, she's going through a lot. She's going through a lot, okay? Fine. But let me just say, not even on my best day with Mr. Darcy doing the application would this elicit anything but jail time from me. I would call the police. Yeah. And again, I have to ask, why are you telling this to Ellen DeGeneres? In theory, no one's ever going to see these journals. Remember? And your whole thing is journals are dumb. That's not me. I'm going to write to Ellen. No one else is seeing this but you. No one else knows this but you, that you are writing to Ellen DeGeneres. Is it not so much more embarrassing that you're doing that than just writing to yourself, documenting your own thoughts to yourself for yourself? Whatever. Hindsight's 2020. I had a password journal. I just don't understand why we're telling Ellen this. I know she's done some shit, but did she deserve actual shit? That's all I want to know. In another letter, she details more really, really vicious instances of abuse that she witnessed, where her dad was choking her mom on the hood of the car, and she saw this and didn't even think. She just ran and reacted and jumped on him and started hitting him, and then all of a sudden everything went dark because he threw her, and then he left, and the next thing she remembers is being driven to the hospital by her mother, being told to tell the doctors when they ask that she slipped and fell on ice. And she also tells Ellen and us that this is when she really knew that there was never going to be a final straw, a last thing, a step too far over the line. Her mother was never going to leave. And so this is just going to be her life. And that is horrible. I can only imagine that you feel hollowed out like a melon, and there's just no hope. It feels hopeless. That's so upsetting. She realized too that after she had been treated and taken home and slept for a day or so, that she never took Atlas his blankets. And so she's feeling pretty bad about that. This poor kid. This is a lot. This is so much. So she goes over there and he invites her inside for the first time, and she looks around and she realizes that he doesn't have any furniture, and that leads her to invite him to spend the night with her in her room, and she locks the door and makes a pallet for him on the floor. They chat a little bit, and then Atlas finally starts to spill. His bio dad wasn't involved in his life, but his mom got remarried a few years ago, and the guy doesn't like Atlas, and he burns him with cigarettes and is just not nice to him, and so they got a fight, and he was kicked out of their house. He was staying with a friend for a little bit, but they are about to move, and he also knew that he was overstaying his welcome anyway, so he told the friend's parents that his mom was letting him move back in, even though that wasn't the truth, and now he's been squatting in the house. And she's really upset about all this. She's like, well, what can you do? And he's like, well, my mom wouldn't let me move back in. I already asked, and I'm 18 years old, so I can't be in the foster system, and I also can't go to meetings to qualify and keep up with like food stamps and welfare. I also can't apply for a job because I don't have a car, and I can't, or an address. And I don't know how it is in other countries, but it definitely is a accurate portrayal of the issue of homelessness in America. So Atlas says that he plans on just enlisting in the military after he graduates, and Lily doesn't get it. She's like, why would you want to serve a country that doesn't give a about you? And Atlas replies with, it's not my country's fault that my mom doesn't care about me. And like, that's so much. That's so heavy. But after this, Atlas goes to sleep, probably wears him out telling him the story all the time. And then Lily can't sleep because she is quite literally woke. She is so woke in this moment. She is angry at the world, at his parents, her parents, the government. The veil has been lifted. The curtain has been dropped. She sees how unfair the world is now, and she will never forgive rich people for not doing more to help out their fellow man. I mean, not you, Ellen, because Ellen donates to charity, which is like kind of the main pinnacle of a good person in Lily's eyes, which would be fine if it didn't carry over into her adult life. Like a kid, of course, she's going to think whatever. But anyway, she swears that when she grows up, she will do everything she can to help others. And this is quite interesting for several reasons based in both film and the book. But I guess we'll have to hold off until we get there, huh? Just remember that she has said and thought this, though. Chapter 9. So she closes the book and she's crying, and it's a lot to unpack, and I get that. She also starts thinking about her mom and her relationship with her mom and how much stuff her mom probably still had to endure until her dad passed away. And so she starts to pick up her phone and call her mom, but instead she has 4 missed texts from Ryle. Are you asleep? I guess so. Lily ... Sad face. The sad face was sent 10 minutes ago. I hit reply and type, nope, not asleep. About 10 seconds later, I get another text. Good. I'm walking up your stairs right now. Be there in 20 seconds. What if she was asleep? Was he going to wake her up? Don't do that. Don't do that to her. Don't do that to anyone. But especially if anyone's watching here that's ever in a close proximity to me when I'm asleep, don't wake me up. Also, I know they're dating or whatever, but this is the second time that he's shown up at her house unannounced and uninvited. And again, I do understand how this type of spontaneity and passion can be really alluring, especially when you're young and he's hot and you haven't had the best example of a healthy relationship dynamic. And it must feel like the sun, to be honest, like to have this affection and attention and all of this focus from a really hot neurosurgeon pointed in your direction. I just hate all of this. It just makes me sad. Anyway, he shows up. They hug. She offers to make him some food. He's exhausted, but he's hot and he's in scrubs. So they head to the bedroom and they just lay down, and he gushes about this cool surgery that he got to assist on. He asks if it's okay if they just go to sleep and don't do anything. And she agrees. And they're laying there and they're like facing each other. And in a moment, like she's just consumed with excitement, and she's super impressed that he was in this surgery for so long. And like you have to stand there and use like your fine motor skills for a prolonged period of time. So she unpromptedly just gets up and goes and gets lotion and starts massaging his hands. And I read this for the second time, and I hate this. It's so nice. She's so nice. She's such a nice person. It just made me sad, I guess. He like sleepily says that she might be the best thing that ever happened to him, and it just makes me want to cry. Ugh. The massage, though, it branches out from the hands and they start making out, and Lily's like, I think we've waited long enough. I would very much like for you to me now. And that's the corniest thing to reach my eyeballs this week. Not ever, mind you, but it's up there. So they do with a condom, believe it or not. I didn't expect contraception. Good job, Colleen. Wow, color me surprised. She says something about how he's a man who knows exactly what he's doing, and everyone who came before were boys who paled in comparison. And he is unapologetic in the way he It's me. Yes, they arrive, and then Ryle pulls up to the cheese factory and says, you warned me. You said one time wouldn't be enough. You said you were like a drug, but you failed to tell me that you were the most addictive kind. I get it. I mean, people say dumb things in the heat of the moment. I know I have said stupid things before. We don't have to get into it. But damn, silence is a virtue. This is why. Chapter 10. This chapter opens with Lily and Alyssa having a moment in the shop, and Lily just asks if she donates to charity, and she's like, duh. She really cares about this a lot, and I agree that it's a good standard to hold your rich friends to, but it is possible for rich people to donate to charity and still be shitty people. And also, I mean, there is always the afterthought that some of these donations can be used as a tax write-off. So it's not the end-all be-all. Like I said, when she was 15 and she was like, I'm not ever going to like rich people unless they donate to charity, that makes sense because she's 15. But you know what? Now that I'm sitting here and I'm unpacking this, she was just like obliterated by the fact that Ryle said some people just do bad things. To be fair, she probably has never heard the inverse. Sometimes bad people can do good things. And he did not share that information with her, so I can only assume that she doesn't know that. I hope she knows it now. Anyway, of course they donate to charities, silly. And then the condo shifts to why Alyssa works here, and then the big reveal that I've kind of already hinted at. She can't get pregnant. They're trying, and it's just not happening. So instead of just sitting in her house and moping and being consumed with that whole thing, that she found something to keep her busy, and that's valid. But I've also heard from people in the bookish community that I trust that Colleen seems to have this idea that the only purpose for women is to marry and have children. So, of course, Alyssa wouldn't just want to get a job because she wants one. She can't have a baby, and that's why. So, whatever. Let me know if you've read something of hers that has similar vibes in it, because I've only read 2 things. Anyway, that's the big reveal on while she's doing the free labor for a woman she barely knows. Ryle sends her flowers again to her flower shop because he needs a fix. Remember that delightful little conversation? So they start texting, and Ryle misses her so much that he just invites himself along to a dinner she planned to have with her mother tonight. So much for keeping it casual, huh? And then Alyssa's like, wow, my brother doesn't really do that. He doesn't really meet people's parents. And Lily's like, well, he must really like me then. And then Alyssa says, quote, yeah, I'm afraid he does. And then leaves. Now, I don't know if this is a serious cap moment or not, and I don't have my serious cap with me. I left it in my car because I wore it yesterday. And I will not be falling into the misogynistic trap of blaming a woman for the crimes of a man, so do not take it that way. But we're going to see a few different times here that Alyssa is a bit concerning and a little bit of an enabler. Like, why couldn't she tell her what she was trying to tell her before now? Ryle is not in the building. Things are clearly starting to get more serious, and Alyssa is clearly still worried about something. It's not her fault that he's abusive. Please understand me. And it isn't her fault that he does go on to abuse Lily. But I feel like she could have tried a little bit harder to warn someone she calls her best friend about what could potentially befall her here. Lily probably would have brushed it off. We can't say for sure. And she would have adopted the all too familiar, I can fix him mindset, or he's going to be different with me, or no, you're making a big deal out of nothing kind of thing that we've seen people like dismiss things with, because people want to believe the best. They don't want to believe that someone's capable of something like that, especially when you start to care about that person. But I don't know. I wish she would have just tried again. Time skip. She gets home and finds Ryle already there and leaned up against her car. And he's like, I figured we would ride together. Even though she thought they were meeting at the restaurant. But okay, time skip. Again, they're at the restaurant. It's named Bibbs. They meet her mother and do the introductions. He excuses himself to go to the bathroom, and Mom clocks something is wrong right away. She's like, he's a little too affectionate and comfortable with you for someone you just met. Mom's no. The waiter shows up to take everybody's drink order, and oh my God, it's Atlas. He takes the drink orders. He leaves. Lily's too stunned to speak. Just as Atlas is walking away, Ryle's walking up. Timing is impeccable. Lily's distracted all through dinner, like scanning the restaurant for Atlas, and she excuses herself to go to the restroom at one point. And as she's headed towards the bathroom, Atlas finds her. Can I just say that this would be a great and valid reason to pump the brakes on the situationship with Ryle. I haven't seen anyone discuss this yet, but she is very clearly still hung up on Atlas, and now all of a sudden he's here. What ways is she hung up? We don't know, TBD. But this is a guy that was clearly very important to her, who she's been currently reliving time with and grieving for. There is a lot happening with Lily right now, and platonic feelings or otherwise. She should have opted to give herself some time and distance for this so she could process all of this before jumping into a relationship. And great news, she currently isn't in a relationship. So she should just hit the pause button so she could recalibrate on all of this. I do fear that since he invited himself along to meet her mom, though, that it may in fact be too late. I just hate all of this. It just like a lump in the pit of my stomach for all of this. Anyway, she and Atlas chat a little bit in the hallway, and she mentions that she opened up a flower shop on Park Plaza, I think. Yeah. And then they say their goodbyes and go their separate ways or whatever. She rejoins the table, but she's having a real tough time like bouncing back with the same energy. They don't notice though, because they're having a great time getting to know each other, and that's nice. And the food is delicious. He has got to bring Alyssa back, etc. They all part ways, and even though they rode together to the restaurant, Ryle's like, I'm gonna take an Uber because I got an early day tomorrow. See you later. And Atlas shows up lurking around Lily's car, which I don't know why or how he would know that was Lily's car, but we don't have to get into it. Anyway, they're chatting a little bit, and she tells him about Ryle, and Atlas tells him about his girlfriend Cassie. More chatting. They say it's nice to see each other, but he wishes that it could have happened 2 years ago. Lily leaves crying, saying that this was good closure for her heart because now she can freely give it to Ryle. She is in denial, basically. And I can't help but need to pause here because I'm in the future. Serious cap. I don't have it, but it is a serious cap, I guess. Neither of these people should be in relationships right now. Point blank, period. And remember, at this point, no abuse has occurred. I mean, Ryle is just kind of slightly chaotic hot dude who might have a boundaries issue and a little bit of a fuckboy streak. Cassie, we don't know Cassie, but I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and say that she's probably pretty chill. And here are these two knuckleheads meeting after so many years apart, so many years wondering what happened to one another. All these feelings bubble up, and then Atlas says something that basically implies, I wish I'd run into you sooner so I could be dating you and not my girlfriend, and you would be dating me and not your boyfriend. Yikes. Not cool, man. Mad disrespectful, bro. What the hell did Cassie do to deserve this? Like, we know that Ryle ends up being a piece of shit, but I can't help but feel bad for her. She has no idea that her man is not only out here pining over the memory of a kid he banged when he was homeless, but now he's out here saying dead ass that he wishes that their paths had crossed sooner. For what, Atlas? Go on. Say it with your chest. Okay, so this is not advice because I am not your mother. There is so much value and power in being self-aware enough to know when you should and shouldn't be in a relationship. In a stereotypical monogamous relationship like we have here, there are two people, right? And when you have things that you haven't dealt with or resolved within your own life or yourself, when you jump into a relationship as a fractured human being, you end up cutting the other person, not to be too indelicate. It's like that whole thing like hurt people. And you are putting a lot of shit and pressure on your partner and giving them messes that they did not make to hope that they clean up, that they didn't ask for, nor do they deserve. And I get it. I was raised to believe that the best thing that could ever happen to me in my life was getting the love of a man. I vividly remember having a boy have a crush on me in like 4th grade, and my mom told me that he would make a really good husband one day. What? So again, yes, I get it. That shit is deeply ingrained into some of our whole formative years. However, I'm 36 years old now, and I know that I love my husband, and he loves me. He has loved me for a really long time, but that is not the most interesting or important part of my life. It is an important part of my life, and it is something that I have categorized as a priority. He is my priority. My children are my priority. My family is my priority, and those things are important. However, when you are 20 and you're dating, that is not a good mindset to have when you're out there just trying to play the field. And it also leads to this ideal that you have to be in a relationship, otherwise you are morally failing in some way. And I don't love that. So I just wanted to take a moment. Again, this is not advice. I can't give you advice. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional in any way. I'm not trained in this area, and I'm not your mother. But there is power in being alone and learning how to cultivate a rich inner life within yourself and like yourself and understand what you need and what you don't and what you like and what you don't and what you want from a relationship if you want one and what you don't want in a relationship or what's not important to you. That way, when you are offering up your partnership to another person, you are giving them someone that is a good partner, that has the potential to enrich their lives. Be alone, prioritize bettering yourself, take care of your shit, become a person that would make a good partner to someone, and then find that person. You have time and you deserve to take it. All right, serious cap off. Chapter 11, she gets home and she is not gonna read any of those letters because she knows that they only get worse from here, but she is a liar and she picks them up anyway. Thank goodness for us. Just keep swimming is uttered. Yeah, it's only a matter of time, right? For those of you who don't know, this is a phrase that was uttered by the fish named Dory in an animated Pixar film called Finding Nemo. Dory was voiced by none other than Ellen DeGeneres, and she's still a kid right now, so I'll allow it. Begrudgingly. I begrudgingly allow it. She's 15 years old. She liked the movie. She's going through a lot right now, and she feels like she's drowning, so it's a nice reminder to just keep swimming. Fine. Atlas gets sick one day, and Lily fakes sick so that he can stay with her in her room, and she can like take care of him while she's gone. She sneaks him over so she can do that. They eat soup. They watch Finding Nemo. He holds her hand when Dory says, just keep swimming, and she leans in and whispers it to him, which makes it their phrase now, I guess. And listen, I've been racking my brain ever since I started this script. I had some dumb shit between me and girlfriends and boyfriends when I was young. I drew 4-leaf clovers on all the notes with one of my girlfriends. I don't really remember the reasoning behind it, but I did do that. I had a boyfriend that I used to baby talk with. That was a rough time. I had another one that when we were in a position where we couldn't really like say I love you to each other, we would like tap 3 times on our hand, which is arguably still one of the cutest fucking things I've ever been a part of. My husband and I have matching balloon tattoos because of a line from a Format song called Janet that says, I'm falling in love with you, balloons or no balloons. And I don't hate that really, but I also don't love it. So I have been that person that has those little cringy inside jokes with people. And so I'm going to shut up, okay? Because this is a neglected kid, and neglected kids latch on to weird things. Another letter, he left after they finished the movie. He came back in through her window later that night to curl up in bed with her and tell her that he might be moving in with his uncle in Boston, but implies that he's considered staying homeless so that he won't leave Lily. And then he also asks her when she turns 16 exactly, which is weird. Okay, and listen, I have a very low tolerance when it comes to age gaps. Very, very low. They give me the ick almost any time I see it. And at best, they give me the ick. At the worst, they're illegal and predatory. So I'm not going to stick on this topic for too long. If you want to hear more about this whole dynamic and really good insight on domestic violence and how that cycle can manifest and show up in your life and all that, Rachel Oates has a very good review of this book, and I highly recommend listening to that. I'm not going to stay on this too long. It's just creepy, even with such a small gap, because he clearly knows that if he bangs her right now, it will be statutory. Hence him asking the question, because the age of consent in Maine is 16, which is another little piece of information that he clearly knows. And I get that they're only 3 years apart. I get that they go to the same school even. People did that all the time when I was in school. But he's a legal adult and she's a 15-year-old kid, and they both have a lot of trauma. So I'm going to need you to take a step back. Just take a step back. Anyway, he doesn't listen to me, and instead he just kisses her and they fall asleep. She goes on to tell Ellen, yes, we are still telling all of this to Ellen, in case you forgot, that they've made out every day for the past week. And now he even knows what her boobs feel like. Girl, I don't like this. Anyway, one day he's in her kitchen making cookies, saying that he loves to cook just like she loves to garden. He eats some cookie dough and kisses her, and then she tells Ellen that cookie dough plus the taste of him is like heaven, if you're wondering. I guarantee you that she wasn't. But Dad pulls up, so he has to skedaddle, but he comes back later and they get to eat the cookies together, and he gives her this little wooden heart thing that he apparently whittled.
It's like somebody got a name, Woodshop.
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming. They've both been purposefully not discussing Boston because they just don't want to talk about it, and they know it's going to be really hard and upsetting. Fair. One night while they're in the room, her dad is attacking her mom again, and she starts to go downstairs. Atlas tries to keep her from going downstairs. She does go downstairs. He's choking her again. She grabs a knife, but Atlas grabs her and pulls her back into the room so she doesn't do anything that, you know, sends her to prison for the rest of her life. After that, her mom comes stumbling up the stairs because she saw her come down, and he was not only choking her, he was like forcing himself onto her. So the mom comes up. She's covered in blood. She begs them not to call the police. Atlas is there. she doesn't even care because she's got a little bit bigger issues right now. It's a lot, and I am severely paraphrasing because it gets pretty graphic. Next letter, he's left for Boston. She's sad, but before he left, he told her a little bit about Boston and made it sound incredible. And he said everything is better in Boston. And so that's kind of like a thing between the two of them. And then she slams the book shut because she knows there's only one entry left and she's just not ready for it. Neither am I. She picks up the phone to find 2 great texts that make her smile. One is from her mom that says, "A doctor, Lily, and you own your own business. I want to be you when I grow up," which is sweet. And one from Ryle, basically saying how happy he is that they're together because it isn't nearly as draining to be in a relationship as he thought it would be. Swell. But this is a nice text also because as of right now, aside from just a few like slightly red tinted flags, nothing has happened yet. Right? I mean, that and she's still a little hung up on her ex. But who cares? Ugh, my hair looks terrible now.
Did you even shower?
Hi, I'm Blake Lively, and you're watching Disney Channel. Chapter 12, Lily is arranging a steampunk bouquet for the grand opening. The first day is a smash. Everybody pre-ordered those Hot Topic-y bouquets, and Ryle finally makes it in just in time to congratulate her, and then Marshall rolls in. Onesies for everybody, because it's free beer night again. Yay. They get there, and Alyssa's being really weird about the beer, so she finally lets the cat out of the bag and says, "She's pregnant!" And to be honest, I'm glad for her. Infertility is rough. She wanted it. Kids deserve parents who want them. And after struggling for so long, this is good news for them. Happy to hear it. They celebrate and tell the story of how they met. It was dumb, so I'm not going to include it. But something interesting that does come up is that they were talking about their past and they mentioned that there were 3 siblings, Alyssa, Ryle, and another sibling. And she didn't know that they had another sibling, but apparently they had an older brother named Emerson who died when they were kids. Everybody gets kind of weird and the vibe staggers for a little bit, but they recover. Time skip. They make it back to her apartment. Her roommate is there. Ryle introduces himself to her as her boyfriend. He notices a Boston magnet on her fridge and teases her about it. She says it was a gift, and then they start fooling around. Chapter 13, Ryle pops by the flower shop. It's a slower day, so Alyssa's not there. So they go into her office and they mess around with his stethoscope. I don't want to give much more detail than that. It's corny, but just like, so he listens to her rising heartbeat and it's like playing the doctor role where he's like, so-and-so beats per minute. I'd like to see how higher we could get it. And then continues to do things to her and listen and do a check-in with her beats per minute as he does it. My heart stopped during the whole thing. If you even care. She reached the finish line and his desired BPM, and then they start chatting about his family. His dad's a psychiatrist. Parents live in London. They don't like to visit, so every now and then he and Alyssa will go fly over there. Lily then asks about his older brother. He doesn't seem to really want to talk about it, so she keeps letting her body do the talking and the walking. Chapter 14, they have a gushy phone call, calling each other girlfriend and boyfriend. It's so sweet. It really is exciting. The first few weeks, months of a relationship can be really fun. She says she's cooking him dinner in only an apron, so he speeds his way over there, leering at her as she bends in to place the casserole very deep into the oven. And then he bites her butt and pours them some wine. It's all very playful, very cheesy. They're getting a little tipsy, whatever, fine. He apparently gets to perform a very rare surgery on Monday. I think he's separating conjoined twins, if I remember correctly, but I didn't write it in my notes, so who knows. So he's doing something. He's super stoked about it. They chat about that some more. He flexes on his magical miracle hands, and she says she's a fan of them too. And he goes to take a shower. Time skip. She's had 3 glasses of wine while he showers, so she's feeling pretty good. She's also on the phone with her mom, telling her all about everything and how they're taking Alyssa and Marshall out to eat next week to celebrate the baby. Ryle comes out, and in the middle of it, her mom's like, "Oh, where are you taking them?" And Ryle's like, "We're going to Bibbs." And Lily's like, "Oh, no, it's not even that good. Can we go somewhere else?" And Ryle's like, "No, we gotta go." Alyssa's totally excited. She loves trying new restaurants. And then they smell that the casserole is burning.
My spinach pus
In the oven. And so Ryle reaches in without an oven mitt with his magical hands and ends up burning himself on the casserole dish. And he drops it and it smashes and it's a whole thing. He rushes to the sink to run it under cold water, and tipsy Lily attempts to laugh it off until she isn't laughing anymore. And this is when we have our first instance of DV, so fair warning. She stops laughing as she hits the ground, a pain in her left eye. He pushes her so hard that she fell and knocked against a cabinet. "God damn it, Lily. This isn't funny. My hand is my career." okay, Dumbo, you're the one who grabbed a hot dish out of an oven without an oven mitt. He almost instantly realizes what he's done and he's very apologetic. Lily doesn't hear him though. What she does hear is her father's voice apologizing to her mother. I cannot imagine how terrible this must feel. She pushes him back and his hand lands on a piece of glass and he's like, I don't care about my hand. I care about you. I'm worried about you. Are you okay? Yeah, clearly. They embrace. He says he's sorry and she's crying and telling herself that he's nothing like her father. He's so upset by what he did. It was an accident. It was a knee-jerk reaction. Nothing like my father. Nothing like my father. They end up having, and it's weird because she says that she needs to feel his sorrow and that every time he thrusts in and out of her, it feels like he's pulling the anger out of her with him. And I've never been in a situation like this, thankfully, but I can imagine it's like literally anything to feel something else, to not feel what you're feeling and the pain and the betrayal and the sorrow and the fear, like anything to not feel that. Time skip, they wake up and they're both in kind of a fog from everything that happened. He goes to get ice for her face. She goes to get a first aid kit for his hand. Lily, he whispers. I look up at him. His head is resting against the headboard and it looks like he wants to cry. I feel terrible, he says. If I could take it back. I know, I say, cutting him off. I know, Ryle. It was terrible. You pushed me. You made me question everything I thought I knew about you. But I know you feel bad about it. We can't take it back. I don't want to bring it up again. I secure the bandage around his hand and then look him in the eye. But Ryle, if anything like that ever happens again, I'll know that this time wasn't just an accident and I'll leave you without a second thought. Now, I want to talk about this a little bit, but before we do, I want to take a second and ground ourselves in reality, okay? Where are we? We are 50% of the way in on a book that was marketed as a romance with a pretty pink floral cover and a synopsis that says things like, sometimes it's the ones who love you who hurt you the most. And then it goes on to give overviews about their personalities and wraps up saying, as questions about her new relationship overwhelm her, so do thoughts of Atlas Corrigan, her first love and link to the past she left behind. He was her kindred spirit, her protector. When Atlas suddenly reappears, everything Lily has built with Ryle is threatened, right? And if you went into this book blind, and even if you read the synopsis and knew nothing else about the book, would this have given any of you an idea that we were going to be dealing with domestic violence? Like I said, I would have thought it was about infidelity, which is also another theme I don't really care to read about, but if I know it's going to be in there, I'll see it through. You never know. And there is an author's note in the back of the book, but it says not to read the author's note before reading the book because it contains spoilers. The potential to do harm here is pretty high when you do a bait and switch with your book, where you're selling a cutesy, sweet, maybe a little bit twisted up romance, and what we got was DV in the romance that's in the romance book. It's how's everybody feeling? You okay? He hurt her. He triggered a lot of horrible memories for her. He tends to her wound. He's very apologetic. He goes to clean up his mess in the living room, and he leaves Lily alone to rationalize this away in her head, which she does. He's nothing like my father. He loves me. He's caring for me. He's apologetic. He's cleaning up the mess, blah, 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 blah. All humans make mistakes. What determines a person's character aren't the mistakes that we make. It's how we take those mistakes and turn them into lessons rather than excuses. This is such a difficult cycle, but a very real cycle that victims of this kind of thing often fall in. The strong pull to rationalize and excuse and decide to accept the apology and hope that it will never happen again. Again, Rachel Oates does a really great job of discussing this book and the cycles of abuse and what that can look like in her review of It Ends With Us, and I can't recommend it enough. She's great. As they sit with each other in the aftermath of all of this, this is the moment that they both say, I love you for the first time. Man. Okay, chapter 14. She's just getting to the restaurant for the celebratory dinner with Marshall and Alyssa. She's running late. She gets there, and Alyssa's like, oh my God, your eye. Ryle told us what happened, but I didn't know it was this bad. He apparently made up some story about her slipping on olive oil. She plays along because what choice does she have, really? She avoids scanning the restaurant for Atlas because this is not the night that she wants to see him because, you know, everything. But oops, too bad. He comes over to deliver the desserts, and it's revealed that he is not just a mere waiter at this restaurant, but the chef and owner of Bibs. Wow. And then he notices Lily's eye and Ryle's hand and her eye and his hand. And then he storms off. He knows, and she knows that he knows, and she is sweating. So she excuses herself to go to the bathroom, locks herself in, takes some deep breaths. She unlocks the door and starts to leave, but she can't because someone else is coming in, and it's Atlas. What happened? She tries to make up some excuse, and Atlas is not buying it. But she's like, no, you're so off base. He's a good guy. And Atlas catches an attitude and is like, funny, you sound just like your mother, which is rude. Then he grabs her arm to stop her from leaving, which I thought was also concerning. And so does she. She's like, to be fair, you're scaring me more than he does right now. And so he backs off. Plus, you haven't seen each other in 7 years? Back the fuck away from me. He does. And as she's leaving, he follows her. And who should round the corner just as they're both exiting the bathroom? Ryle. Great. This will go wonderfully, swimmingly, if I may. Well, the boys start fighting. Atlas is like, touch her again, I'll cut your hands off and feed them to you. I bet he would do like a medium rare, nice braise on them. Lil's is like, Atlas, stop. And then Ryle, hearing such a stupid ass name, says, oh, Atlas? You mean the homeless guy you pity? And this is when the real scrap begins because the waitstaff has to come and pull them off of one another. And Atlas is like, get out of my restaurant, never come back here. And they leave, and Ryle freaks out because he didn't drive his own car there. And so Lily gives him her keys and they drive home in silence. And they get back to the house and they hash it out. And he starts guilt tripping her for being in a relationship that he didn't want in the first place. Did you know he worked there? Did you tell him what I did to you? Why were you in the bathroom with him? And she tells him the truth about everything because she literally didn't do anything wrong. Yes, she knew he was there. That's why she didn't want to go back. No, she didn't tell him. He assumed. He followed me in there after he saw my eye. All of that stuff is very rational. Ryle then says that she needs to tell him right now if it's not him because it hurts really a lot. Big feels right now. And he can't imagine how much it will hurt in like a year from now, which is fair. And if you hadn't already hit her once, I could kind of understand where you're coming from here, but you don't get to be angry at her ever again anymore. Nope, she didn't do anything, but you did. Anyway, she assures him that it's him, it's you, Ryle, and he says, I love you, and she thinks that Atlas is so wrong about Ryle, but I wish Atlas knew that. Why? This is a red flag within your... See, this is what I'm talking about. Like, she is not facing the reality of her own feelings. If she did not care about Atlas at all, she wouldn't care what he thought. Atlas is obviously correct. He knows exactly what's going on, but even let's say that he didn't and Ryle hadn't done anything to her and he was just overstepping his boundaries and grabbing her and forcing himself into their relationship when she didn't ask for it. Why do you care if Atlas knows that Ryle's a good guy? This would need to be like a pump the brakes situation, but we're too far in it now, so we can't. Chapter 16, she is at work and Alyssa's like, hey, I know you said you didn't want to go back to that restaurant because of that man or whatever, but he's actually like here. He's like right there. Atlas Corrigan has entered Ed Hardy Florals. He's there to bring her a gift and to apologize, and Lily says something really smart. Why is he buying me gifts? He has a girlfriend. I have a boyfriend. Our past has already caused enough problems in my present. I don't need gifts to exacerbate that. This is very astute, Lily, and that's what I've been saying. Like, there's obviously something going on, and neither of y'all are single, but maybe you should be while you sort this out. And I understand, too, that the heated exchange from last night sort of changed the energy and the urgency around their relationship, but he should not be here. Best case scenario. This is a weird thing for him to have done. But anyway, he gives her a gift. Apparently, he got it 3 years ago and was hoping to see her again so he could give it to her one day. He apologizes and she's like, Ryle's fine. And he's like, no, silly goose. I'm not apologizing for that. I'm apologizing for that thing I said about your mom, not for clocking him. Anyway, he scribbles down his number on a Post-it and gives it to her just in case, clearly not believing her excuses, and he shouldn't, but he also shouldn't be here. You know, just, I'm glad he is here for later in the book, but this is just, And then he starts to leave, but Lily stops him to clear up the whole pity comment that Ryle made. She says she never said anything like that to him and that he just filled in the blanks because he was angry and hurt and misconstrued her words from a long time ago. And this is a great time to remember that two things can be true at once. Yes, Ryle was angry and he did amp up that whole factoid and said what he said. However, let us recall how you told him about Atlas in the first place, shall we? The first guy I ever had sex with was homeless. That's what she said. And she didn't say that she fell in love with the guy named Atlas. She didn't say that he was in fact her favorite person in the whole world and the best friend she'd ever had, and that he protected her from her abusive father. She did not say that. She said it in an attempt to one-up him in a game of naked truth. The first guy I ever had with was a homeless guy. So while I do know that Ryle is an asshole and took that comment and turned it into an 11 to cause maximum pain to this guy that he was clearly feeling threatened by, she also didn't tell this story in a very respectful way either, and he just assumed, all of this is bad. All this is bad. She's not deserving of anything. Please know that that's not what I'm saying. But like, whatever. And then, so Atlas leaves, and Lily starts to say something to Alyssa, but Alyssa's like, you don't have to tell me anything. I know not to tell my brother. Believe me. I already know. What else do you know, Alyssa? What else do you know? Now would be a good time to share it, I think. Like, you just saw your brother get into a violent fist fight in a public restaurant right after you heard this fantastical story about how his new girlfriend, slipped on some oil like it's a Looney Tunes cartoon and ended up hurting herself and Ryle. And you wanted to share something before, didn't you? Do you want to share now? I think you should share now. She doesn't, though, and then Lily opens her gift, and it is a personalized signed copy of Ellen's book that reads, Lily. Atlas says, just keep swimming. Ellen. This is a thoughtful gift, but goddamn. Okay, here we go. We are reading the last Ellen letter, chapter 17. Deep breaths, everyone. It's full of domestic violence. It's her 16th birthday.
It's all about you, girl, on the 16th birthday.
42 days since she last saw Atlas because he moved to Boston to live with his uncle, when all of a sudden he reappears just in time for her to legally give consent. I mean, celebrate her birthday. Yay! Oh, and casually reveal a tragic story that I did not need to hear, nor did Lily. Apparently, the first night that he came to that house, like long ago, he was planning on taking himself out, if you know what I mean. But then she appeared in her window, backlit like a freaking angel, and he's like, you saved me, you saved me. He kisses her on her shoulder, like near her clavicle or whatever, and then goes on a spiel about how he's gonna enlist and she shouldn't wait for him. He's like, don't wait for me while I'm in the Marines. Basically, he's telling her, I want to bone you so that I can leave with no regrets, kind of thing. Is that too crass? Anyway, he makes a promise that when his life is deserving of her to be in it, like it's a life worth sharing with her, he will find her in Boston. The gift that he gives her for her birthday is a Boston magnet, and they do it, I think they do it. And after they do it, her dad busts in the room and catches him in there and traumatizes everyone inside. He beats Atlas half to death with a baseball bat, and he has to be taken away via ambulance. Lily has a panic attack so bad that an ambulance has to be called for her too. But the whole story of this entire night was spun where her dad was the hero who rescued his daughter from being manipulated by the strange homeless man. Not only is this violent and traumatizing, but letting that story out to the public where it leads to her getting bullied by her peers at school is just this double slice of trauma. It's like re-traumatizing her every day. Like, why would you do this to your kid? Why would you do this to your kid? I would think that she's already having a pretty rough time. She said she's never had any friends before. So you tell the whole school, the whole small town, the whole city has to know about this now? Why would you do that? You're an asshole. You're a piece of shit abuser. I guess that's why. Even worse, she has no idea what happened to Atlas after this. He never said anything back to her. It's just devastating. How devastating. And this was the last time they saw each other. She Googled him a couple of times to know that he was alive and in the military. And she soothed herself by believing that maybe some people aren't meant to be in your lives forever. And that's okay. Like, maybe it's just a blip and that's what they're for. And she also, at some point, got a small wooden heart tattooed on her clavicle, the favorite place that he liked to kiss her. She loves Atlas and probably always will. But they have their careers and their partners. And maybe it just wasn't meant to be forever. And that's okay because she has Ryle. Part 2. I don't know what the point of part 2 was, but whatever. Chapter 18. 6 months have passed. Lily has moved in with Ryle and met his mother. Alyssa's baby is now kicking, and she tells Lily that she can't wait for her and Ryle to have kids. And she doesn't want to push anything. She's not even sure that they do that. They haven't even talked about marriage yet. No, duh. It's been 6 months. But Lily admits that she would say yes to Ryle if he asked her, and Ryle overhears it and says, quote, I'd marry the hell out of you. So they start casually discussing it. Let's go get married in Vegas. Long story short, she agrees. And everyone is thrilled, even Alyssa, who shouldn't be thrilled. But hey, pack your bags. We're getting them hitched. Oof. Naked truth, he whispers. I'm so excited to be your husband, I could piss my damn pants. I thought you didn't want to get married. It's okay to not want to get married. I don't know why the sudden shift after 6 months, but all right, sure. Chapter 19, they're on the plane, and while they're on the plane, we don't get the wedding, by the way. It just rushes right to the end of it, and it gives us a little bit backtracking. On the plane to Vegas, they casually decide that they're going to bring up and address any potential issue that might arise and put a strain on their marriage. She made sure that kids were a possibility, and he agreed, which is weird since he said under no circumstances did he ever want kids. But hey, maybe you can change them after all. Ugh, toxic. She wants separate checking accounts, but in order for him to make that up to her, he has to buy her a lot of presents because he clearly makes more money. He's cool with that. He made her promise not to ever be vegan. Sure. She made him promise that he would donate to charity. Here we go again. And he made her promise to vote. It doesn't matter who she votes for. She just has to promise to vote. These are very strange things, but clearly they covered all their other bases. I'd like to add some if we have a second. What are we going to do if and when another instance of DV comes up? What are we going to do if you hurt me again? What is the setup for that? Is he completely closed off to the idea of therapy? Would he consider it if they find themselves in another situation? Is there any secrets that you need to get off your chest now that would shape my wanting to marry? They might color my experience a little differently. Is there anything that is buried deep in your closet that you might want to tell me about before I get legally married to you? Yeah, I just, those are just the ones that I thought of off the top of my head. Don't mind me. You guys covered all your bases. Time skip. He showers and then she showers because they're going to go to dinner with Marshall and Alyssa. They're back and they're married and they're going to dinner. While she's in the shower, she hears a crash and she calls for Ryle, but he doesn't answer her. That can't be good. But to be fair, 6 months is a long time to not have an instance, a DV instance, right? And we're to assume that there hasn't been anything. He heard her that once. She's already primed and prepared to excuse it and say that he's not like my dad. He's different. He obviously feels really bad about it. This is nothing like that. And he said he'd never do it again. And he knows that if he did, that I would leave. And it's been 6 months and we're happy and we're married. And yeah, 6 months is a long time. Not long enough to be marrying them, in my opinion. But if it has been 6 months since the last outburst, I can see her growing comfortable again and letting her guard down, which is sad since I know what's coming. She finishes showering and then she finds him out there sitting by himself, like stoically, silently, with a end table tipped over and phone in hand. And he says that he dropped her phone on accident and the case popped off. And that should be nothing, but that's where she had hidden the post-it with Atlas's number on it. So he called it and got his voicemail. And once he recounts all of this to her, he throws her phone against the wall and storms out. Brace yourself for more abuse. She follows him, begs for him to let her explain. He pushes her again, and she wakes up after a little bit. Her head hurts. Her eye hurts. He asks her to lie still. He tells her that she fell down the stairs, but she starts putting the pieces together again. He found the number. He got mad. He left. She followed him. He pushed her down the stairs. He treats her wounds and asks if she's okay. She says, "You pushed me." He says, "You fell," right after I found out what a liar I married. And he leaves her there crying. And I also want to take this time to remind you that this is marketed as a romance novel. And we are about 70% of the way in now. And there was also a time when Colleen Hoover and her marketing team thought it would be a good idea to release a coloring book inspired by this novel. It was quite a time. Now, the coloring book never came out, to my knowledge. The nail polish did. I can only imagine. Actually, let me look. Here they are. They're not specifically nail polishes for only this book. They have nail polishes for Heartbones, It Ends With Us, It Starts With Us, and November 9, which I think is really funny because November 9 is a book I haven't read, but I have watched many reviews on. And it's about a young man who commits arson without knowing that there's a young woman inside the house that he just set on fire. And then he stalks her and corners her into a relationship where she falls in love with him, and then he reveals that he is the reason that she has all those scars that she has from that really traumatic night where she almost burned to death in her own house. And they live happily ever after. I can't help but notice that neither of those colors are the color of fire. Weird. Anyway, he pushed her down the stairs. I don't remember how much time passes, but he does come back and he begs her to tell him that she isn't with Atlas. I love you. This hurts so much. Blah, blah, blah. Die. She explains it calmly and he asks her to swear on their marriage. And she says, I swear, Ryle, you overreacted before, giving me the chance to explain. Now get the out of my apartment. My words knock the breath from him. I see it happen. His back meets the wall behind him and he stares at me silently in shock. Lily, he whispers, you fell down the stairs. I can't tell if he's trying to convince me or himself. I calmly repeat myself, get out of my apartment. He keeps on, but so does she, and she ends up screaming at him until he finally does leave. She deadbolts the door, collapses in her bed, and into tears. Obviously. How horrible must this feel? Chapter 20. She wakes up the next day and gets ready as best she can. She can't hide all the bruises and cuts from Alyssa, so she doesn't even try. She goes to leave, but then realizes on her way out that there is a sleeping lump on her front doorstep.
Giant piles of bubble gum? Oh, what next?
Hi, SpongeBob.
And it's Ryle. He just slept out there all night, but she just steps over him and leaves him there. Same. Power move. An hour and a brand new phone later, she has her first call, a frantic sister-in-law, trying to find out if she's okay. They both head into the shop to talk because Alyssa obviously found out what's going on and she wants to be there for Lily, right? Right? No, Lily arrives and it's not just Alyssa. She has brought Ryle and I want to fight everybody. Alyssa's like, Ryle, what did you do to her? And then she hugs Lily and Lily in her mind is like, this is weird. She clearly knows that Ryle did this to me, but she isn't like yelling at him or angry at him. And I agree. This is very odd behavior. Alyssa turns to Ryle and basically says a cryptic like, tell her or I will. Doubtful, bitch. Doubtful. Alyssa spins towards me. Hear him out, she begs. I'm not asking you to forgive him because I have no idea what happened last night. But just please, as my sister-in-law and my best friend, give my brother a chance to talk to you. I hate this. This is highly inappropriate. It's not okay for Alyssa to be steering her back towards him with this hear them out bullshit because there is absolutely nothing he could say that would make this okay. This is gross. This is gross. Anyway, they go back to their apartment with Alyssa manning the store because she agrees to hear them out. What choice does she have? It's 2 against 1. This is so inappropriate. Anyway, he starts talking and reminds her of the first night they met about how he told her the story about the boy who accidentally unalived his brother with a loaded weapon, right? Yeah. I won't be reading this in full, but I will sum up. Basically, Ryle lived out that exact same scenario, and that's what happened to his older brother, Emerson. He accidentally shot him when Emerson was 7 and Ryle was 6, and he talks vividly about how he was trying to fix his brother after he did that. He isn't telling her this to excuse this behavior by any means. No, of course not. But to explain that there are some things that he just can't control. He gets angry. He blacks out. He's violent, etc. Despite having been in therapy since he was 6, and Alyssa wanted me to tell you this whole time. So yeah, you probably should have. Yeah. And listen, I have a couple of things to note here. But if for a second I thought that this man had uncontrollable raged blackouts, that's not funny. But if for a second we are to believe that this man has uncontrollable rage blackouts and he has no way of predicting, avoiding, or negating them despite years of therapy, doesn't that seem like something that you should have disclosed to your now wife? Why wasn't this one of your naked truths? Also, if I'm supposed to believe, like maybe I'm just thinking too much, but I tend to do that, especially when authors aren't thinking enough. I'm supposed to believe that this man has uncontrollable rage blackouts where he is violent and does things that he does not mean to do. Why are we not assuming that he unalived his brother on purpose? Because what other link does that have? Are you telling me that since that accident happened, that now, as a result, you have violent, uncontrollable rage blackouts? Or are you telling me this because when you were a kid, you had a violent, rage-filled blackout that you did not remember or have any control over? I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to take away from this revelation. So then he's crying and she has to comfort him. Can you fucking imagine? This has me so angry. I'm so annoyed at this. You aren't a bad person, Ryle. I know that. You can still protect me. When you're upset, just walk away and I'll walk away. We'll leave the situation until you're calm enough to talk about it, okay? You're not a monster, Ryle. You're only human. And as humans, we can't expect to shoulder all of our pain. Sometimes we have to share it with people who love us so so we don't come crashing down with the weight of it all. But I can't help you unless I know you need it. Ask me for help. We'll get through this. I know we can. Help me, Lily. I need you to help me. Okay, so that doesn't make any sense. Hi, no, I won't be doing that. You need to get a new therapist. You need to find some hobbies so you can get this anger out in a constructive way, like playing basketball or running. I don't know. And talk to a psychiatrist, maybe get some meds, because this is the thing. His sister is already seemingly aware of his history and the past with the brother, and she still lets him live in her home. So clearly having someone know that you need help and trying to be there for you during this isn't helpful. But also, like, why is all of this only happening to Lily? Did he not smash all the shit at the hospital on that night that the other little boy passed away because of negligence on behalf of the parents? Did he not get into a fist fight with the parents when he had to deliver the sad news to them? He certainly took it out on the patio furniture after he finished his shift, scrubbed out, came home to the home that he shares with his sister and best friend, no doubt greeted them as he arrived, got changed out of his scrubs and into a casual Burberry shirt, walked himself up to the roof, and then started wailing on the marine grade polymer chairs. That doesn't sound like a random explosion of violence that he can't control. That sounds like he exercised immense amounts of control over his emotions until he got to a spot where he felt comfortable unleashing them. Lily is just a marine grade polymer chair to this man, not to be too indelicate. And that's not okay. And now he's begging her to help him. I just don't like this at all. And see, that's the thing too that comes across is a little bit of an apologist stance, an enabler stance, because I'm not doubting that there's something going on inside of an abuser when things like this happen, and those things need to be dealt with. But that is not an excuse. So I don't know what am I supposed to take away from this? Like, oh my God, that sounds horribly tragic. Yeah, it does. And if you've been in therapy since you were 6, you clearly aren't getting anything from that therapy if this is still something that is very much present in your life. So maybe switch it up. Yeah, for sure. And now he's begging her to help him. Disgusting. I'll help you. Stay 100 yards away from me at all times and check yourself into a facility somewhere, because it's not my responsibility to help you, sir. You have to help yourself. I just don't understand, if he's been in therapy since he was 6, how none of this has been resolved yet. So I'm calling bullshit on that. Either he's been with the same therapist for 6 years and they just enabled him like his sister seems to do, or he's not in it. He's not doing anything. You have rage issues. How is this not affecting every single part of your life? Because he doesn't have rage issues. He's just abusive, and Lily is someone that he has deemed not worthy of respecting and controlling his emotions around, subconsciously or not. Anyway, she doesn't feel that way. She's ready to do whatever she can to help, and that's just the cycle of abuse continuing. And I'm still mad at Alyssa too. It should never have gotten to this point. His sister knew that he had these rage problems, and we know that she did because one solitary time, she did try to warn Lily about this before she got involved. But oh well, never mind. And then she started celebrating them getting together and talking about them having babies and moving in. She absolutely played ignorant to this after that first initial attempt at telling her something. And that's clear, and that is a little bit despicable. Chapter 21, it's been a month since she fell down the stairs, and she is in the shop expositing to us how she knows that Ryle has a temper, and she always has, but she can also see the difference between him and her dad, which is just how the cycle of abuse works. You see the abuse, you hate it, you know you don't deserve it, and you experience the abuse, you excuse it, because it's hard not to want to forgive someone that you love. And over time, it gets easier to overlook things and excuse things. They wear you down over time. It's like that parable about the boiling frog or whatever. Like, if you drop a frog into boiling hot water, the frog will notice that it's on fire, basically, and jump out. But if you put a frog into room temperature water and you just slowly increase the temperature over time, he will slowly boil to death because he won't understand that he's in danger until it's too late, you know? So, and I understand that. But at the same time, I don't think Colleen Hoover even really did this here. Like, there was no, like, subtle, like, isolating her from her friends and family. There was no reading her text messages, going through her stuff, making her financially reliant on him. I mean, he did have those little like random chaotic moments where he just showed up unannounced at her house when he had no idea which apartment was hers and beg her to sleep with him, which is alarming, but it doesn't really note like an abusive person, maybe if not a little unhinged of a person, but like there was no, it doesn't seem like he was like trying to wear her down over time. He was pushing Lily and then he was fine. And then he's hitting Atlas but he was fine. Then pushed her down the stairs, but then he was fine. Not all abusers are alike, I guess. And every piece of shit is different. Just like snowflakes. Anyway, she's at a war inside of her body, a constant push and pull between loving him and hating what he does. They had a fight a week ago, though, and she was really, really nervous about it, as all of us would have been. But he did what they said they were going to do, and he left. He took a walk, came back an hour later, and they figured it out calmly and rationally. And it was something about how he was offered a job somewhere else, and she didn't want to move, so whatever. Anyway, he kept his promise, which is still something that just makes it easier for her to let her guard down again and trust him again. Again, Rachel Oates' video on this is much more articulate and well thought out than mine when it comes to this stuff, so I can't recommend it enough. Anyway, the fight was about that whole job thing and how he decided that he's just not going to take it. He's choosing their marriage over the job. And I know that this seems like a step forward, but if anything, it feels like a lateral move, if not a step back. Like, this man said he never wanted marriage. He never wanted kids. He didn't even want to be in a relationship, right? I know he's an adult and he chose it, and I am not blaming anyone but him for this. So stay with me, I promise. This is why you should never try to fit into a mold that you don't belong in. Like, if you know what you want and you're very clear about that, don't try to squeeze into it. Even if you meet somebody and you think that they are the one, if their goals and plans for the future and their wants for a relationship don't line up with yours, it's not really meant to be. And like, compromise is a part of every relationship. I get that too. But big things like that, like not wanting to get married and not wanting to have children, those aren't little compromises. Like, well, I wanted Italian tonight, but he wanted tacos, so we settled for Greek food. Compromise. No. If you don't want to get married and then you get married, somebody is going to be resentful at some point. Or you might have been wrong and you were just talking out your ass. That's possible too. But he is older than her. He's 30. He's established in his field. He knew what he wanted. He knew his past. He knew that he's been in therapy since he was 6 freaking years old, and he knew that he didn't want a relationship, and yet here we are anyway. He knew all of this and that he was a violent abuser, and he still wanted to just disregard it because he wanted to bang her so badly. And now they're both in a life that he didn't necessarily want and she didn't deserve. She deserved better than this. And even in one of their arguments, he guilt tripped her about putting him in this relationship. I never wanted to be married. I never wanted this. Like, that's not healthy, even if he didn't hurt her. You know, like, that's not fair. It's not fair and it's not okay. Fuck this guy 1000%. You have to be self-aware enough to not make other people pay for the price of your stupidity and your blind spots. Lily did not deserve any of this. Alyssa texts her and asks her to come over, and so she does, but when she gets there, there's a sign on the door that says, "I'm not here, I'm in apartment 749 on the 7th floor." So Lily goes down there, and Alyssa's not there. It's Ryle. Apparently he bought this apartment, and he just signed the lease, and he wants them to live in it together, right under where Alyssa lives. Surprise! And she's like a little wary at first, because she should be, because the last surprise left her concussed. Anyway, I have to say it here again. I kind of hate Alyssa. She knows this man, her brother, her husband's best friend, is abusive to women, and her best friend. And he has physically injured her twice in less than a year's time. But she not only cornered her after a night that she was physically attacked by Ryle, with Ryle in her flower shop. Now she is sending texts to lure her to an apartment where only Ryle is. What if Lily didn't like this apartment surprise? What if he then slammed her head in the door? What then? Again, I'm not saying that she is fully responsible to be her brother's keeper and she is to answer for all of his crimes and stuff, but maybe we don't put Lily in positions like this. Does no one else care about Lily's safety but me and Atlas at this point? Like, is it just us? And he hasn't even been around for a couple of chapters. So am I the only one holding down this fort caring about Lily? I don't even like this book. I don't want to care about Lily, but somebody should. Anyway, thankfully, she does like this surprise. Woo! And he takes her on a tour, showing her that he even got her one with a balcony so she can grow a little garden. She's happy. They hug and they order Chinese and talk about all the fun neighbor, sister, uncle, aunt things that they're going to get to do now that they all live together. And this is just so freaking sad. Chapter 22. They've been in the apartment for a week now, and Alyssa is 3 days past her due date, ready to pop. And they got their first piece of mail, and man, can life get any better? Yes. but it can also get worse. She's about to leave for work one day, and Ryle shows up and lets himself in carrying coffees and a newspaper, and he is so excited to tell her that she was nominated for one of the awards for Best New Business in the City, which is so exciting. And he got selected to go to a fellowship at Cambridge for training, and Alyssa's in labor. So they're all excited, and they rush off to the hospital. It's a girl. Everybody's in the hospital room meeting the baby girl, and Alyssa says, we decided to name her after someone we both think the world of. So her name is Ryle E. Ryle E. Riley. That's a choice. So you saw the cuts and bruises that your brother left on your best friend's face, and you still named your kid after him? This is just, I don't like Alyssa. I don't give a shit. And apparently Alyssa was so quiet during labor. This is not important, but she was so quiet, so demure, so mindful in labor. She didn't even have any drugs or an epidural. And so she can't even blame that on this or this on that. I don't know. She was fully sober when she said, yeah, we should totally name my new baby daughter after my domestic abuser brother. Ryle holds his namesake and tells Lily, I think we should have one of these. I think the fuck you shouldn't. And Alyssa's like, told y'all he'd want babies with y'all. Hi, Delusion. Yeah, can you go ahead and cancel that order for me? I'm all set. We are stocked up. Chapter 23, she gets home a few hours later and the lights are off. So she assumes that Ryle is in bed. Brace for another DV charged chapter with attempted R. Loving it. He's not asleep. He's looming around in the dark kitchen being a creep and scares the shit out of her when she turns the light on and finds him in there. An empty glass of scotch on the table catches her eye, and he usually drinks it to calm down after a stressful day. No big deal. It helps him sleep, and he has a smirk on his face. None of this will lead anywhere good, so again, brace yourself. I won't be detailing it too much, but this is pretty rough. Again, I have to point out, though, just before we get started, he's been here for, what, an hour at least, maybe? Standing in the dark, all by himself, and not violently trashing the house or beating up any pieces of random furniture. He got upset about something, poured himself a glass of scotch, turned off all the lights, stood in the kitchen, and waited for her in the dark like he's the BTK killer Dennis Rader. Not one of those steps did he lash out. This almost seems like it was calmly, thoughtfully, and carefully planned out. But sure, rage blackouts. He approaches her slowly and asks her where she got the Boston magnet on her fridge, and she tells him she doesn't remember, and I get that because he seems to get a little rambunctious anytime Atlas's name is brought up. He then starts kissing her, to which she's like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. But then he grabs her hair, and he asks her again, and then he hands her the article that they talked about earlier and asks her to read it out loud right now. The article that declared her one of the best new businesses in Boston, but not the top. Who's the top? Uh-oh. He actually adjusts his request and asks for her to take her shirt off first, then read it. Again, I'm not really seeing a rage blackout. I'm seeing a very methodical, step-by-step thing that we're doing here. But hey, whatever. Lily isn't sure if she should be afraid or not, but I say always be afraid. Always. She starts reading, and he directs her further down the article where a shout out for Atlas's restaurant is. Uh-oh. Now she knows she should be afraid. She keeps reading. The article asks Atlas about the name of his restaurant, and he says, it's a long story. It was an homage to someone who had a huge impact on my life, someone who meant a lot to me. She still means a lot to me. Bibbs stands for Better in Boston. Lily doesn't want to read it anymore, so Ryle stomps over and snatches the paper and finishes reading it himself. She starts to walk away and begs him to do the same, but instead he grabs her, restrains her, bites into her clavicle where her tattoo is, which is, I have no words. And she's like, none of this makes any sense. How is he connecting the magnet to the article to Atlas? I just don't understand. Then she notices all of her boxes have been dumped out and her journals have been read. He read all of her journals. Remember, they just moved in, so she had a bunch of her stuff boxed up. Then he pins her to the bed and attempts to force himself onto her. She bites his tongue and he headbutts her, and then the room goes dark. Or she comes to, and he is just a stream of apology, but she feels blood in her eyes and falls back into the blackness. She wakes back up and he has passed out, thank you, Scotch, so she can now slip out, and she is frantic trying to figure out who she can call. She doesn't want to bother her mom with this, and she also doesn't want to admit to her mom that she's in a similar situation because she's always thought of herself as kind of like better than her mom, and you know, hindsight is 2020. It's easy to judge from the outside, and she doesn't want to call Alyssa because I don't fucking need to explain that, do I? So she calls Atlas. Thankfully, she looked at that number a lot enough to have memorized it. So she calls him and has him take her to a hospital that isn't the one that Ryle works at because she doesn't want to risk running into some of his colleagues. Man, I can only imagine what she's feeling. This is so scary. And she hates him in this moment. And honestly, I do too. Chapter 24, she's at the hospital being checked by the nurses. They come in and they see Atlas is standing in there and they're like kind of wary of him because it's obviously somebody hurt this woman. They assume it's him, but she's like, no, it's not him. He can stay. What do you need? And the doctor comes in and is like, we're not going to give you a head CT, even though we probably should, but I don't like to give them to people who are pregnant. People who are pregnant.
I'm pregnant.
Just letting you know, it got worse. The doctors leave. She starts to panic. She's supposed to stay there for some observation, but she wants to get the hell out of there. So Atlas helps her get out of there, and Just Keep Swimming is dropped again, and I really wish that it wasn't. They go back into the house in a suburb. He lives alone. I don't know what happened to Cassie, but she ain't there. He gets the guest room all fixed up for her while she showers. He leaves a set of way too big for me clothes on the bed. She puts them on, curls up in the bed, and cries. Ugh, God, I hate all of this. I know this is a difficult time, but it's still very important for you to know that these men are enormous and she be tiny whittle. Chapter 25, she wakes up and it takes her a second to remember where she is. She comes out of the bathroom to find Atlas cooking her crepes. And I have been on the fence about this man until this exact moment. Love me some fucking crepes. He has to go to work for a bit, but he promises to bring her food when he comes back and makes her promise that she'll be here when he gets back. He writes down several numbers in case of emergency and a just keep swimming for good measure. Then she decides she needs to write to Ellen again and listen to me very carefully. I have thoughts. I'm a hater and I absolutely hate this. But she was just assaulted and had a huge bomb dropped in her lap. I'll let adult Lily have this just this once. I should probably catch you up on my life. My dad died. I'm 24 now. I got a college degree, worked in marketing for a while, and now I own my own business, a floral shop. Life goals for the win. No, I draw the line. I said I would allow the letter. I'm not allowing this. I can excuse writing to Ellen, but I draw the line at for the win. She updates her about the abuse and the pregnancy and all of this other stuff. She details how it feels like the man she knew died and all the details that she's swimming through. Swimming, get it? That she always assumed that women who stayed in abusive relationships were stupid, even her mother, but that was before she was in it, and now she gets it, and she wishes that she didn't, and honestly, I wish she didn't too. No one deserves to know what this feels like firsthand. She signs off saying, F that whole better or worse thing. When I said worse, I wasn't talking about this. Chapter 26, she's laying in Atlas's guest bed, unpacking all the stuff from the last 24 hours. She feels robbed of the joy that a mother should feel when she finds out she's having a baby, and I get that. This is just another thing that Ryle took from her, and it hurts, and I hate that. Atlas gets home, they eat, and watch DVR episodes of the Ellen show, and they talk a little bit. She apologizes for being so mad at him at first. She just didn't want him to be right, and he was. Feel free to say I told you so. He said I'd never do that. She didn't want to believe it, neither did he, and he was hoping that he was wrong too. She offers to get a hotel if she's putting him out, and he's like, no, I want you to stay as long as you want, and she asks for a few more days. Chapter 27, she goes into work for a bit, and the whole time she's nervous that Ryle is just going to breeze in out of nowhere. He does, but it's only to tell her that he is leaving for England tonight and that he paid all the bills for the next 3 months, so he won't be there, and she's free to come home. She tells him before he leaves that all he had to do was ask her about the journals, and she would have been honest with him, but now everything is ruined. Have fun in England. Chapter 28, she debates on going back to the apartment or not and ends up back at Atlas's because she isn't really ready to answer any questions that she's sure Alyssa is going to have, and that's fair. More than fair. Especially because I don't see how we even can trust Alyssa but at all in this scenario. I still can't. I just... Ugh. But anyway, she's there one night while Atlas is at work and some random men show up because they usually play pokers on Friday, so she lets them in and Atlas is on his way back and they chat a little bit, her and the guys, and then start playing poker before Atlas has a chance to get back. And a bit of this that confuses me is that he's the owner and head chef of this restaurant, a new restaurant, and these people are all employees there, like sous chef, dishwashers, and it's a Friday night. How are you all not needed in the restaurant on a Friday night? Whatever, fine. Finally, Lily is nosy, so she asks the guy about Cassie, and they're like, he doesn't have a girlfriend named Cassie. I don't know anybody named Cassie, and Atlas is here now, so it's clear that he lied about that whole thing, and she's big mad about it because, like, why would he lie, and maybe he never really cared about me the way I thought he did, and I'm an idiot, so she kind of, like, leaves the table. He follows her, and she has her notebook moment where she asks, why didn't you come find me?
Why didn't you write me?
Turns out he did. He tracked her to her college and he saw her like on the quad hanging out with people and smiling. She looked so happy. A guy showed up and she looked happy to see him too. And so he decided not to bother her. And she's so funny because she's like, that was just a guy I dated for like less than 6 months. It was nothing. You had known Ryle for less time than that. And now here you're married now. So yeah, I'm not really with you on this one, Lils. Anyway, he decided it was best to leave her alone. She then pivots about him lying about having a girlfriend. She wasn't even with Ryle yet. Why would you do that? And he said the same reason. He thought she looked happy, so he didn't want to mess that up. And that's when she decides that she wants him to take her home. So he does. Time skip. They silently drive the whole way there. He walks her upstairs. She's a bundle of nerves, worried about who might be in there. So he checks to make sure Ryle is gone. They stand there for a minute knowing that they probably have to say goodbye again after all this time. But there's this stunning moment of self-awareness and we got to give her flowers. Lily Blossom Bloom deserves her flowers in this moment where she tells him that she has a lot of stuff to work through right now and that she doesn't know that she will be able to do it with a clear head if he is around. He understands and he tells her that if she ever needs him for emergencies only, because he can't be casual with her, to call him, but otherwise, he wishes her well. He starts to leave but turns around to deliver a dagger straight to the heart. I know this is the last thing you need to hear right now, but I have to say it because I've walked away from you too many times without saying what I really want to say. He pulls back to look down at me, and when he sees my tears, he brings his hands up to my cheeks. In the future, if by some miracle you ever find yourself in the position to fall in love again, fall in love with me. And he presses his lips to my forehead. You're still my favorite person, Lily. Always will be. She closes the door, riddled with 2 different heartbreaks that she knows will take forever to heal from. Chapter 29, she and Alyssa and Ryle are chilling on the couch, catching up, hanging out. Alyssa's trying to talk to Lily, but she's being short, so Alyssa tells Marshall to come take the baby so she can talk to Lily. Okay, spill. You've been weird for weeks. What the heck is up? I wouldn't tell you shit either, just to be fair. So Lily spills about everything, the pregnancy, the abuse. Alyssa's shook. I don't know how at this point. Nothing is off the table with this unhinged maniac of a man. My brother loves you, Lily. He loves you so much. You've changed his entire life and have made him into someone I never thought he could be. And as his sister, I want more than anything that you could find a way to forgive him. But as your best friend, I have to tell you that if you take him back, I will never speak to you again. Finally acting like a friend to this woman. Where was this energy this whole time? They cry and they hug. And Lily tells her, you're the best friend I've ever had. I am so begging of all what the fucks. That, first of all, that can't be true. But also, Atlas. I think Atlas is the best friend you've ever had still. Actually, at this point, I think Lucy, the useless roommate, is a better friend than Alyssa has been to you right now. Whatever, maybe I just don't get it. Anyway, they move swiftly on so Alyssa can give her all of her maternity clothes. She's so excited to be an aunt. The only thing left to do is tell Ryle. I wouldn't have told any of these people. I would have just disappeared. I would have, well, she already has a business. It's kind of complicated. Chapter 30. She hasn't told anybody about the baby except for Marshall and Alyssa because she wants to be able to tell Ryle first. She goes to her apartment one day and there he is. Ryle is back and he can very clearly tell that she's 20 weeks pregnant.
I'm pregnant.
Apparently, he had texted Marshall to come and act for a spotter for them so that she would feel comfortable talking to him now that he's back. Literally traitors everywhere, I swear. He tells Marshall that they're going to go in the room and talk, but if he hears anything, come in. Hear anything? Like what? Lily takes a moment to feel sorry for Ryle, though, because it must be so hard to never know what might set you off. And then she lays eyes on the bed that he attacked her on a couple months ago, and all of that sympathy just goes poof. Yeah, good for you. He takes a moment to caress and kiss her stomach back the away from me, demon. She did not say you could touch her stomach. Yay, naked truth time though. Woohoo, I'm so excited. Ryle starts to talk about how hard this has been for him, and then Lily just snaps. Yes, I kept the magnet that Atlas gave me when we were kids. Yes, I kept the journals. No, I didn't tell you about my tattoo. Yes, I probably should have. And yes, I still love him, and I'll love him until I die because he was a huge part of my life. And yes, I'm sure that hurts you, but none of that gave you the right to do what you did to me. Even if you walked into my bedroom and caught us in bed together, you still would not have the right to lay a hand on me, you goddamn son of a bitch. Slay. Literally slay him. Rip. I agree. Tell him. Tell him again if he didn't hear it the first time. Finally, it's his turn though, unfortunately. And he starts with how he just didn't know what to say. He can't take anything back. He was coming to tell her goodbye. That he was going to take a job in another state. But he can't do that now because baby. And he can't leave because he loves the baby more than anything in the world. Bitch, please. You shouldn't be allowed to be anywhere near this baby. He begs for her not to keep the baby from him and to help him yet again. And he kisses her and kisses her and kisses her and kisses her, but when he pulls away, he sees in her eyes that this time is not gonna fucking work, bitch. Thank you. He starts to leave, but before he does, she tells him that she wishes this baby wasn't his. Hard agree. Hard agree. She feels bad about this afterward, but I don't. Slay the house down. Chapter 31. Alyssa texts her, invites her for dinner, but Lily isn't sure where Ryle is, but she assumes he's staying there, and he is. But when she says this to Alyssa, she says, who all will be there? And Alyssa texts back, Lily, I wouldn't do that to you. He's working until 8 tomorrow morning. It'll just be the three of us. What on God's blue orb do you mean you wouldn't do that to her? You and your husband have both done that to her now. You are not as violent, but you are definitely as delusional as your fuckhead brother. And you are not safe for Lily. And you're letting him stay in your home where your daughter sleeps. He's a neurosurgeon. He could afford a nice hotel or a rental. What is this enabling ass bullshit? And then the gaslighting. I would never do that to you. You've actually done worse at this point, jerk. Anyway, she goes up for pizza or whatever and offers to let Riley spend the night at her house so that they can have a date night or whatever. Chapter 32. I'm so tired of this book. How is this still happening? I swear it didn't feel this droning 2 years ago. She's feeling guilty that she hasn't told her mom about the baby yet, and they're having dinner at her mom's tonight, so the time is upon her. But mom has news first. She's seeing someone. Yeah. But now it's Lily's turn. She's pregnant and her husband beats her up. She doesn't give all the gory details, but she gives the basics, and she is in tears, and her mother is actually really great here, to be honest, because she has been here and she understands. We all have a limit, what we're willing to put up with before we break. When I married your father, I didn't know what my limit was, but slowly with every incident, my limit was pushed a little more. The first time your father hit me, he was immediately sorry. He swore it would never happen again. The second time he hit me, he was even more sorry. The third time it happened, it was more than a hit, it was a beating, and every single time I took him back. But the fourth time, it was only a slap, and then when that happened, I felt relieved. I remember thinking, at least he didn't beat me this time. That wasn't so bad. She brings a napkin up to her eye and says, every incident chips away at your limit. Every time you choose to stay, it makes the next time so much harder to leave. Eventually, you lose sight of your limit altogether because you start to think, I've lasted 5 years, what's 5 years more? For whatever reason, Lily was geared up to have to defend herself here, but she didn't. Her mom was just really great. She got it. And Lily tells her that she wants to be her when she grows up. And she makes it even more apparent that she gets it when she tells Lily that she knows Lily didn't freeze at the eulogy. She knows that she just didn't have anything nice to say and that Lily was the only one who ever stood up for her. And she hopes that Lily can be that girl in her own situation. And while this is touching, it is, a kid should never be in the position to have to be the one to protect the parent. I know this is touching. I'm glad they're healing, mother and daughter, healing their wounds and coming together. Some of us will never get that, so I'm happy for them. But a kid should not be in this position in the first place, ever. Chapter 33. Today is the day of the baby shower, and man, they got a lot of stuff. Ryle shows up to help transfer all the stuff back down to her apartment, I guess, and she lets him help build the crib. And she's feeling a billion different things in her body, as I can imagine. Loving him and hating him and fearing him and missing him and missing the family that they could have had. God, God. He finishes and he puts the bedding on and he's like standing over it, like looking down, and she stands there thinking how easy it was for her to judge her mother, and now here she is wrestling with a million different things and realizing it's not so easy to hate the person who hurt you, at least not exclusively when it's happening to you and it's happening by someone you actually do love. He takes some stuff to the dumpster and leaves her there. She's crying for Ryle and she's sad that she knows that he doesn't want to be where they are either. And, you know, whatever, that's fair. When you love someone and they're sad, it makes you sad. I get it. I tend to reach for anger because it's the easiest one for me to process and hold in my body, but I get the aching and the sorrow that you feel for someone you love when they're hurting you. And despite how shitty they've treated you, like, it's affecting your life, but it's affecting their life, and you see it, and it's affecting both of your lives that you were supposed to live together. I get it. I have some slight experience in that area. And let me tell you, honey babies, it does get easier with time. It doesn't get easier that it happened. It doesn't make it go away. You just get a little bit better at carrying it, I guess. Chapter 34. 2 weeks have passed and she has painted a mural on the nursery wall. She texts Alyssa, but she's out, and she texts her mom, but she's also busy, something to do with her job. And so she texts Ryle and asks if he wants to come over and see the mural. And he says that he'll be right down. I still can't believe that his friend and sister let him live there after what he's done. Unreal. I get her reaching out to him too. She's pregnant, she's lonely, she's sad about everything, but excited and wanting to share this with somebody. And in theory, in a straight monogamous relationship where you get married and have a baby, you would want to be sharing it with your partner. And so I understand this need to share it with somebody. When I was like 3 hours out from labor, I reached out and broke a no contact that I'd had in place for months with somebody just because I wanted them with me in such a scary, exciting thing. This is like a milestone moment. I just had a baby, and you want people with you in spite of how terrible the relationship is. So I get it. I can't say shit. I want to act like I'm smarter, but I'm not. I ain't. I have been here too. Regret knows me by name. And my name is Dumb Bitch. Me, not her. I'm not calling anyone else a dumb bitch. I'm only calling myself that because, well, I don't know you like that. You might be a smart bitch. Anyway, he comes down. He's wowed by the mural and then the swing that she put together and naked truth time. Please, Lily, please tell me you're ready to talk about this. They haven't really talked about where they stand on anything. They discuss how he wants to be a good husband and a good dad and in the baby's life. And she's like, yeah, well, how in the world can I know you won't hurt them? And he's like, horse apples. And she's like, no, this is a legitimate fear I have because you say you won't hurt her on purpose, but you said that you wouldn't hurt me either. And she's also 10 times smarter than me because he asked her about their marriage and the state of their marriage, and she says that she doesn't want to make any decisions right now because she doesn't want the hormones or the fact that she's pregnant to be any sort of determining factor. Can't relate, bitch. All I did was make poor decisions while pregnant and after and years later and last week. She asked him to promise not to try to talk her into anything or try to kiss her until she has this baby. One life-changing thing at a time, please. And he agrees and leaves to go to work. Chapter 35. A few more weeks have passed and he has moved back in, but he's sleeping on the couch. He heads out somewhere. I don't remember where. And then her water breaks. So she calls him and has him turn around and they head to the hospital. And there isn't even any time to call anyone by the time they get there. It all happens so fast. She does one final push and Ryle is like, it's a girl. Wait, Ryle? What the fuck is he doing in the delivery room? Actually, no. Fine. But why is he down there?
Head Ross.
Like, this is up to her in the end, but like, get him away from the bits. I don't, whatever. Anyway, they named the baby Emerson after his late brother, the brother that Ryle unalived. She watches him hold his daughter and she knows what her decision is going to be. Ryle, I want a divorce. Before she said that she wanted a divorce, I just knew that she was going to take him back. Despite the title being It Ends With Us, despite any sense that could be had, naked truth? I did cry when I read this book the first time because I was glad she decided not to take him back. I cry very easily, though. I once cried at a Pink concert.
Pink, get down.
And I can't make a good decision for myself when I'm on day 2 of my period, but she can make a good decision when she's fresh out of labor. Goals. But anyway, Ryle asks her to please not do this, but then she asks him the now infamous line of, if you had a little girl, look at your daughter and tell me what you would do if she came home and she told you that the man that she loves was hurting her. And then Ryle says, I would beg her to leave him. So a gentleman's agreement then. They're getting divorced. Get the fuck away from all of us. He hands Emerson over to Lily and leaves the room in tears. She looks back down at her new daughter and makes her a promise. It stops here with you and me. It ends with us. She said the thing. The end, except it's not. Epilogue. It's almost a year later when she bumps into Atlas on the street with Emerson, or Emmy, as they call her. She is running late to drop her off at Ryle's, and she tells Atlas that, but then she clarifies, like, oh, this is his week to have her. I'm not, we're not together, kind of giving him that little go ahead thing. She makes it to Ryle's, drops her off. Then she runs back towards her store, but past it because there's something that she has to do. I wonder what it is. She catches up to Atlas. She calls out for him and she spills. She named her daughter Emerson Dory. I can't take a damn bit of this seriously after that. What am I to do? What am I to do? That is a hideous name combo, by the way. Not only is it cheese central because of the fucking Dory Finding Nemo Ellen shit, but it just doesn't go. And they call her Emmy. Her name is Emmy Dory. Shut all the way up. He pulls her in for a hug and tells her that his life is good enough for her to be in it now if she's ready. And she rapidly fires off very important questions that Ryle also answered properly. But I guess, again, we have a theme in this book and with this author that we just don't have to learn from anything. Do you donate to charity? Do you want kids someday? Do you want to leave Boston? And he answers them all correctly. Several charities. Of course, kids. No, never, because everything is better in Boston. She says, okay, I'm ready. And he whispers softly in her ear, you can stop swimming now, Lily. We've finally reached the shore. Remember how I said I would allow this dumb journal writing for teenage Lily? Great. I stand by that. I absolutely rebuke this. Y'all are like, what, 27 and 29 now? 27 and 30? Stop it. This is unforgivable. It is so cringe. Cut it out. Anyway, the end. Oh my word. Okay. So I don't like this book. Like I said, it's easy to get through because the writing is simple and it doesn't really require much of you. The story definitely does have the insights of a person who has been through similar things like this in their life, and I want to be mindful of that. But I also want to point out the apologist theme, the undercurrent. It seemed to take at many different instances in the book. I don't think it was blatant by any means, but it kind of made me feel like, a little bit a few times. We got to see some of Lily's back and forth and the pain that comes along with something like that, and that's layered, and it did read very sincere, but it still gave me a weird aftertaste. Again, Colleen thanks her abusive father in the author's note at the end of the book. Last but not least, to my damned old daddy, Eddie. You aren't here to see this book come to life, but I know you would have been its biggest supporter. You taught me many things in life, the greatest being that we don't have to end up the same person we once were. I promise not to remember you based on your worst days. I remember you based on the best, and there were many. I remember you as a person who was able to overcome what many can't. Thank you for becoming one of my closest friends, and thank you for supporting me on my wedding day in a way that many fathers would not have. I love you. I miss you. Now, I know that this kind of trauma and pain and grief is beyond layered, but why would you write a book inspired by the man who abused your mother? Then thank him in said book and write said book where even when the cycle is supposed to end with us, you still allow the kid of the main character who was the victim of the abuser to be alone with this man. Especially if we're operating under the assumption that he still struggles with uncontrollable rage blackouts that usually leave people that he loves in blood on the floor. Like, I know that there are instances when abuse happens to like one person in the family and not others, but is this a chance that we're willing to take with our brand new baby girl? Especially right away. Like, if you aren't 100% sure that he won't hurt her, then it isn't worth it to test it out, is it? And who's to say that when he finds out that she is dating Atlas, that he doesn't just go ham on whoever happens to be in the nearest proximity? But that's under the assumption that he has these uncontrollable rage blackouts. He seems to have a lot of very much control that I saw in the book, which was weird. And I find it odd that he read the journals and didn't put the pieces together on her middle name. I feel like that would be something that would say he lost his shit over a magnet. You think that him finding out that you named his daughter after something that was special and important between you and this man who gave you that magnet? Men have unalived their children for less. Atlas's sheer existence in Lily's life, assumed or tangential, like not even anything at all, like any little moment that he was insecure about Atlas, he attacked her. How is this man going to react when she marries Atlas? I assume that she does. Or when Atlas starts being the one to drop off Emerson when it's Ryle's days. Remember, he's also been violent with Atlas. So what's to say that he won't do that again and his daughter has to bear witness? It ends with us, my ass. This never sat right with me. And like, I'm proud that she wanted a divorce, but why does the kid have to be in this position? And I understand that fathers have rights and everything. And sometimes the legal system, when it comes to cases like this, don't really work in your favor when you're trying to put protective measures in place. But I think that if we were documenting all of these bruises and concussions and hospital visits that we got from this man, that they might be more willing to hear you out when you ask for supervised visitations. And to be fair, this kid is fictional, first of all, but she's also brand new, so she doesn't have any like memories of watching her father do this stuff to her mother. But like I said, what's going to stop him from being violent with someone else in the future? Are we just assuming that he's going to be a monk forever and not get another girlfriend or something, or like lash out at anybody that he deems worthy of his violence? Like, he clearly has these uncontrollable rage blackouts. What's to say that if the crossing guard doesn't let him cross one day, he doesn't just deck him? Who's to say that when Atlas swings by because Emerson forgot her tablet that she needs for school the next day, he doesn't just beat the shit out of him? Because that kind of stuff, when you see it, it doesn't just poof and not exist anymore. I guess it does disappear like that for Alyssa, though. Sure, Ryle, move back in. I know that you're like really tired of being homeless now that your wife got tired of you pushing her down the stairs. I'll make up the guest bedroom. None of this just disappears. Even though she's not legally married to him anymore, she might still be setting this kid up to see and witness some horrific things. And again, I still think that Alyssa is dangerous in a similar way because she just enables and overlooks his behavior pretty much all the time. So what's to say that something happens and he hits the baby or the kid or the toddler or whatever, she's going to grow up, and Alyssa sees it, but instead of telling you, she makes up a story about her slipping and falling down the stairs. I wouldn't put it past her at this point. I didn't like Alyssa the first time I read this book, and I really don't like her now. Let me know if you hate her too, or if I'm being too harsh. Oh, before I do that, the book is 2 stars. No, thank you. Please, Colleen, I beg you no more. While you ruminate on all of this stuff, I'm gonna go watch the movie, and I'll be back to tell you my thoughts on that.
And now, on with the show.
I'm back. I watched it. I did the thing. I did not wear my florals, as you can see. I also did not take my girlfriends with me. I took my oldest with me because he wanted to go. I also took notes, so we're gonna roughly go through there. I don't have a script for this part, but I did watch it in full. I took notes the entire time. So the movie was meh, just like the book. So not shocking there, I guess. There were a few changes that I think that some more sets of eyes definitely had something to do with, because some of the things in the book probably wouldn't have translated pretty well to film. And I knew that, and you knew that years ago when we first read it. But it's good to know that other people notice things too and are like, hi, let's not. I hate this. Let's not do this. So there were some of those things, but then there were also some things that were changed that made it worse somehow, that made it not make sense even more. So I took notes of things in order as they popped up. So we're just going to go down the list, and if I need to expound on something a little more, I'll take some time and do that. So the movie opens and shows the funeral, which we didn't get in the book. She got up there and didn't have anything nice to say about her father, but she tried anyway, and then she left the funeral. And the mom, we met the mom, and she was a bit more annoying than the mom I had pictured in my mind. So I wrote that. When we finally get to the roof and she meets Ryle, they have the most inane conversations about cherries. And then when she asked him his job, he says neurosurgeon, and she has a giggling fit. She was annoying. She was way more annoying than I could have ever anticipated. Read the casual Burberry shirt. He was just wearing a black sweater. So either our girl is just a savant of the name brands, or he wasn't wearing Burberry in the film. But it would make more sense that he was wearing Burberry in the film, and it would make more sense that she spotted it and clocked it in the film. But we'll get there. Again, I just wrote cringy AF when she talks about her name. That's pretty much her entire character. It was really difficult to watch. It was okay. It was one of the more unpalatable moments in the film, and the film is about domestic violence. But watching Blake Lively, who is almost 40, pretend to be a silly, giggly, goofy 23-year-old girl was as uncomfortable as it sounds. Yeah, because I've read your comments. You're all so sweet. Oh, you don't look like you're old enough to have teenage kids, and that's probably true. But you know what I don't look like? A 23-year-old. And I know that. I think we all know that. I'm not 23. Neither is Blake. But anyway, it's just really uncomfortable. She's thinking, oh my God, no, it's so bad. Like, my name is just like so bad. No, you don't even understand it. My middle name is Blossom. We know. Shh. When they get to that part where she's like, I feel like you're missing out on relationships because I could never sleep with somebody if it wasn't going anywhere. And he's like, how far would you go? She says, quote, I'm not sure. I'm an unreliable narrator. Cute. My next note just says, she's a ditzy, giggling mess and I hate her. We go back and forth through time, not with the Ellen letters in full display. We did get a clip of it. We did see her younger self writing in her journal to Ellen, but that was the only blip of the Ellen letters. Ellen does show up on a television screen when she's at Atlas's later on, because of course they watch it on DVR. And I also noticed that in the background of the restaurant, there was a little drawing, painting, picture, whatever, hanging on a gallery wall, and it looked like the kind of fish that Dory was in the movie. And it said, keep on swimming, because I bet you Pixar wouldn't let them use just keep swimming. I can't imagine why. Such a good opportunity for them. And the way that they did the flashbacks was way better. They showed less. less of the abuse that she witnessed at the hands of her dad, less of her and Atlas together having these like deep, meaningful conversations. So it all felt very one-dimensional, very shallow, like it's a 15-year-old girl infatuated with this boy and they start having sex. So that kind of like took away some of the connection that they had, and like why would she have such a reaction to seeing him later on? It just seemed very, I mean, I know because I've been 15 before that when you are 15 and you have those relationships, you have a death grip on them, especially if you're from an unhealthy home. You hold on to them and they become a part of your entire personality. I understand that, but we didn't get a lot of that in the film. They cut down severely on the abuse that you saw her dad do to her mom, which, by the way, her dad, Dr. Owen Hunt. It's him. It's Dr. Toxic. Owen is the worst. Great casting shot there, though. Like, impeccable. Hate that guy. I mean, he's probably fine in real life, but I know him as Owen Hunt, and I freaking hate Owen Hunt. So, well done. So, upon the first meeting, when Alyssa comes in and asks if she can work at the store, she is not wearing white capri pants. This is one of those things that I think an extra set of eyes was like, yeah, it's not 2016 anymore. We're not going to have a very, very stupid rich woman wander into a flower shop wearing white capri pants and then going on to be described as stylish. Those two things don't make sense. But another thing they changed about Alyssa is that she hates flowers instead of loving them and being a Pinterest whore like the book. Yeah. She hates flowers, and that leads them into the discussion about Lily's vision for the flower shop and how Lily wants to be the antithesis, the Ed Hardy florals of her dreams, nightmares, whatever. And then we get this montage where they're like setting up and cleaning, and then the store is finally coming together and she's arranging these bouquets, and Alyssa utters the phrase, "You're like Dr. Frankenstein, but with flowers." Okay. Where she doesn't hurt her ankle, and they don't pretend not to know each other. They're pretty upfront that they've met before. And then Marshall's husband, who in the book, I could have taken her leaving. I didn't have any strong feelings about Marshall in the book. He's there. You know, he's stupid rich. He's married to her. He loves her. That's it. Every now and then he pops on a onesie to get free beer. They donate to charity. That's all I knew. But he was obnoxious in this, and I hated him also. At one point, they're like, you know what we need to do? Just go have some dumb fun. Not dumb fun. So they go out, and there's like a montage of karaoke and bowling and all this other stuff, which is odd because I feel like if I just bought a flower shop, if I just blew my entire savings and the inheritance left to me by my father on this warehouse of a building that I needed to fix up and get going into a flower shop so that I don't starve to death when it goes tits up, I wouldn't go out on the very first night that I got the keys, but you know, they're rich, so I can only assume that they paid for everything. Anyway, since they're spending the night together having all this dumb fun, he doesn't have to knock on 29 doors and get on his knees in the hallway and beg her to sleep with him. I guess this is one of those other things that some eyes grazed and were like, I fear this might not paint our main male love interest in the best light. Like, we know he goes on to abuse her. We know. But we want people to like him first because we want to upset people. We want to cause maximum emotional damage. We crave that emotional manipulation. And if you want to do it right, Colleen, I know you've been doing it for a while, but if you want to crank it up a notch, we're going to need people to like him first. So instead, he begs her for a kiss at the end of the night of dumb fun. Seems irresponsible. She's got a lot of work to do, but sure, that's my note. He sends flowers to her, but instead of writing, "Make it stop," like a fucking weirdo, he writes, "I can't stop thinking of you, friend," because they decided to be friends. She does not bring a date for the birthday. She does, however, bring a horrific OOTD, and she kind of walks by Ryle, who's talking to another woman, after they've decided that since they want different things, they probably shouldn't be together, and she kind of takes her big hunter's jacket that she wears all the fucking time off and walks by him like, are you trying to be his friend or not? Are you trying to set some boundaries or not? Whatever. Fine. She does spend the night with him. He does take her clothes off of her for her. But instead of slipping on a gigantic, super duper big sweater that goes by her knees, he just gives her a pajama set, a silk pajama set. I guess that's just another thing that a few people glanced at and was like, you know what's actually more realistic is that almost never happens. Unless you are a itty bitty teeny tiny Sabrina Carpenter girl and a buff Chris Hemsworth, Jacob Elordi. This kind of difference in size is not realistic to real life. Most people in relationships aren't on the opposite ends of size. You know what I mean? Not only does he give her a 2-piece silk pajama set, but he takes her crystal boots off of her, which is odd because why would Lily, someone who's never hung out with anyone in this tax bracket before, own crystal boots with red bottoms? I don't know if those shoes had the red bottoms, but there were definitely red bottoms spotted in the film on Lily's feet. But again, this makes more sense in the context of the movie because if she did in fact clock him wearing a Burberry shirt without any like major identifiers, and then she goes on to wear crystal boots and red bottom Louboutins, then yeah, she might know a thing or two about Burberry. But again, original OG Lily from the book has never hung out with anyone this rich before or in this tax bracket before. So again, what the fuck is she wearing this shit for? What's going on? Stop. Since we're here talking about Blake being almost 40 and playing a rich socialite of a woman who's supposed to be this little plucky 23-year-old who just moved to Boston, I looked up the ages of the actress who played young Lily because while I was sitting there in the theater, I was thinking to myself, there's literally no way that she's even close to being a teenager. No way. And I looked it up and she's 24, the age that present Lily is supposed to be. And Blake Lively is playing a 23-year-old when she's actually 37 or 38. I don't remember which one. We're not 23. We're not 23. I'm not real sure what this is about. They could have gotten an 18-year-old to play the 15-year-old and then let the Lily who played the 15-year-old Lily play the real Lily. And this could have been a really big moment in her career, but instead we had to get the fucking insufferable 40-something-year-old Blake Lively. All right, I'm going to move on. She spends the night with him. She keeps her fishnet stockings on for some reason. He doesn't take those off of her when he's undressing her. So she's just got fishnet stockings on under silk pajamas. And if you've never tried to sleep in fishnet stockings, like if you've come home drunk after a long night of dumb fun, I know I've done that a time or two, and you crawl in bed and you're like, I'm too tired, I can't possibly take all these clothes off, and you start trying to sleep in the hosiery, the fishnets, you wake up in the middle of the night, disoriented and not knowing where you are, dehydrated with a dry tongue, but you know in your soul that you got to get those fucking things off of you. Whatever, let's leave it alone. She wakes up the next morning and she does run into Alyssa in the kitchen. And Alyssa actually does tell her, you shouldn't date him. Quote, if you're looking for nothing from him, that's the best option. But he, quote, runs through women. It doesn't seem in the movie that Alyssa knows about a violent past or problems with abuse when it comes to his relationship. It just seems like she thinks that he's just like a fuckboy. But she does, in fact, warn Lily, and then Lily doesn't listen to her. So the restaurant name is different. This is yet another example of someone going, hey, this sucks. Let's not do that. Let's change it to something. It's not called Bibs, because that's fucking stupid. It's called Root, a farm-to-table restaurant called Root. That makes so much more sense and a great example of what I've been saying on this channel for the last year and a half or so, that if you just think for like 5 more minutes, you can maybe put together something that's better than the first draft dumbass shit ideas that you have that spill onto the page. Yeah, because in one of the flashbacks, they're in her garden and she's talking about prepping the plants for winter and protecting the roots so that the plant can grow strong. And she's talking about this with Atlas. And so he grows up and names his restaurant Root. Cook time. It's necessary sometimes. Not every good idea is the first thing you think of. You might have a jumping off point, but Bibs? This sounds like a lobster restaurant where you need a bib to eat all the food. Or a baby restaurant. Restaurant just for babies. I don't know. Why would you fucking name it that? Think. Try it. Try thinking. I'm yelling. I'm sorry. Speaking of that scene where they're in the garden when she's a kid, no cow manure arousal entered the picture. Yet again, it seems like a team of experts were like, maybe we don't have the teenagers getting horny while rubbing cow shit on one another. Maybe don't do that. High five to whoever cut that shit out of the film. The soundtrack slays. I'm a little upset that it does. It's even more clear to me in this moment that she shouldn't have continued a relationship with Ryle given how her first time seeing Atlas went for her. She should have been able to know, especially since she's almost 40, that she should maybe pump the brakes with Ryle because there's some unfinished feelings with Atlas. And like, I know that at first he says that he has a girlfriend too. I didn't say she needs to stop being with Ryle so she could be with Atlas. I said she probably needs to not be with Ryle right now while she sorts through her feelings by herself when it comes to Atlas. That would have been the more responsible choice. But as one of my first notes says, she's a ditzy, giggling mess and I hate her. Why would I assume that she would be that self-aware? That's a problem for me to sort out later. So it shows her doing some more like redecorating in her flower shop. And I haven't seen anybody talk about this yet, but she's hung a wasp nest. I don't know. I didn't write my thoughts. I just wrote that it happened. Anyway, Atlas was a little more aggressive in the movies than he was in the books, which I found to be a choice. He yells at her at one point when he corners her in the bathroom. Even I, in the theater, thankfully there were only like 2 other people in there, I went, shh. And then also when he goes to see her at her flower shop after the fact, he takes her phone, writes his number down, takes her case off, puts it in there and puts it back, which I feel is a little weird. It's a little weird to do that, especially because at that point he is uncomfortable and concerned about her safety when it comes to this abusive, controlling boyfriend that she might be having. So maybe don't touch stuff. Maybe don't raise your voice. Whatever. Anyway, so my next note says, the way the movie is going, it seems like they're almost trying to push these wandering thoughts about Atlas in a way that the book definitely didn't do. Lily processes all this stuff about Atlas pretty much on her own when she's reading the journals in the book. But in the movie, she randomly asks Ryle one night if he's happy after a conversation with Atlas. And then when he says, yeah, I'm happy. Are you happy? And she's like, I don't think happiness is like a forever state. Like, ma'am, once again, this just further proves my point with saying that maybe you should have hit the brakes so that you could sift through this on your own, because like I said in the book review when we first read the synopsis, it did seem like there was going to be a little bit of a love triangle kind of thing in the book and no domestic violence, because that's just not how it was painted. And I think that the book definitely tried to lean into that a little more. There was like no love triangle stuff in the book, which is one of the things that I actually appreciated about the book, that Lily was self-aware and knew that she shouldn't get into anything with Atlas right now because she's got a lot going on to figure out. And they didn't give us that here. So I guess the people who changed the capri pants and the name of the restaurant, they were on lunch when this scene was written. He proposed in the hospital room while holding Alyssa's new baby, her infant fetus baby, newborn. Me and my oldest, we both said, quote, not with the baby, at the same time. So he owes me a Coke. Also, the way I would never speak to this man again. I would never speak to this man again to begin with, but I would never speak to this man again if you come to visit me in the hospital after who struggled with infertility for like several years, now I have my baby that I've worked and prayed and manifested, and you steal my motherfucking thunder by dropping to your knee and proposing to your battered girlfriend in my hospital room holding my baby. I would never speak to him again. Absolutely not. Oh, another thing about Ryle and Alyssa, they don't live together. They live next door to one another on the top floor. So Alyssa owns an apartment and Ryle owns an apartment. And so there's never like this enabling kind of dynamic where he lives in her house. That was one of my complaints in the book, was that he lives with her and she clearly knows that there's something wrong with him, that he is not fit to be in a relationship with women, which would make me think that she knows he has violent tendencies, but yet you still let him live in the house. And then even after the baby's born, you let him live in the house. It's weird. Well, they just omitted that whole thing because they just have apartments next to each other instead. When she leaves and goes over to Atlas, they're having a little conversation to try to cheer her up. And he's like, well, what song do you want at your funeral? I think that as I'm being lowered into the casket, or as I'm being lowered into the ground, that Creed Arms Wide Open would be just absolutely perfect. And that is when my oldest son decided that he didn't hate this movie entirely. He's in a very big Creed phase right now. Everybody in the house is really loving it. So another thing that I wanted to talk about for a little bit, bit is the way that the abuse between Lily and Ryle is depicted in the film. It starts off looking like accidents. It starts off painting it in a way like when he grabs the casserole dish, it looks like when it's shown the first time that he touches it and then just pulls back because it's so hot, and that's how he accidentally knocks her down. And when I saw that, I was like, what are we doing? And then when the stairs happened, it kind of goes black before you see anything really. I mean, you do see him kind of like go towards her, but then it goes black and he says, you fell down the stairs. And so at this point, I'm like, hate this. And I don't trust any of these people because they're not responsible. None of them are responsible or doing anything responsibly here. So I'm like, no way did they completely change to all of them being accidents. There's no way. But I kept my eye on it. And when the final events happen where he bites her and tries to force himself on her, then as she's standing under the water in the shower at Atlas's house, she starts showing us what actually happened. So it was intentional, which I thought was smart. The way that what happened with the baby brother and the gun violence, Ryle doesn't tell her. Alyssa does. Because after Lily finds out that she's pregnant, Ryle is somewhere, I don't know, and she goes over to talk to Alyssa and tell her about everything that's going on. And she tells her about the baby, she tells her about the abuse, and Alyssa says, I'm not making excuses, I never thought he was capable of this. So then after that conversation, Lily asks Alyssa what happened to their older brother, and Alyssa is the one that tells her what happened. It seems like instead of Lily just living in the apartment and Ryle living somewhere else, it seems like Lily moves back home with her mother. So Lily starts putting together the crib. Her mom and her are trying to get it together. They have a little conversation while they're doing that. They talk about why she stayed with her dad and stuff, just like they did in the book, but I thought that the book did it better. I thought it was a little bit more realistic, and I also thought that it was a little bit more like endearing, like a touching moment between them. The film adaptation of it was like a little rushed and a little forced, and it just didn't feel right. And then she's setting up the nursery, and the crib is the last thing that she needs to do, but she can't get it figured out, so she does call Ryle, and she's like fully showing now, so it's like far along in her pregnancy, just like the book, but she's at her mom's still, I think. And he comes over and they have their talk, and she's like, kind of standoffish as she should be. The last time we see Ryle in this film, the day she gives birth to their child and asks for a divorce. We do not see him anymore. We do see Lily going on, visiting her mom, taking the baby to the park, all that stuff. So it doesn't seem like she's letting the baby have a relationship with Ryle. We don't see any of that side of the family at all. She runs into Atlas at like this farmer's market next to the park where her and her mom and her baby were playing, and her mom and the baby are off, and she sees Atlas, so they walk up to each other. And he's like, are you still with? And she's like, no, it's just us. So it doesn't seem like, and again, I think someone who has their brain more activated saw this and was like, I don't think it would be a wise decision to show her letting this abusive man have unsupervised visits with this baby. So yeah, liked that a lot more too. And so that's all my notes. I thought it was just as meh as the book. The awkward dialogue between the characters was clunky. There was like no chemistry with anyone really. And everything felt awkward and corny and just worse somehow, which is a feat within itself. There were obviously some choices made to make it a little less ridiculous than the book was, but it was still, the result ended up pretty much the same anyway. Like it balanced itself back out in the end. There were some things that they did right. There's some things that they corrected, but there were some things that they did wrong and completely different than the book that kind of just made it, all of the work that they did to improve it, null and void. The soundtrack was like pretty great. And I think that that's all the good stuff I can say about it. I didn't care about this. I don't think I'll ever watch it again unless my Discord wants to have a watch party when it becomes available on streaming platforms, just so we can watch it together. I think I give the book 2.5 stars. I think I give the movie around the same, 2.5, 3 maybe. But yeah, I didn't really love it. Shocking to no one, I'm sure. But anyway, yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this review of the book, It Ends With Us, and the film, It Ends With Us. Oh my god, a double whammy, 2 for 1. The things I do for you. I swear. I swear. I'm just kidding. I love doing this. I think that this is like the most fun job I could have ever foreseen for myself. I'm having so much fun. I'm loving this. I'm loving connecting with y'all. And like, even though I have a horrible time with these books, I have a good time sharing it with you. So that's really what this is all about, isn't it? you guys. So I appreciate you sticking with me through this and sitting here the whole time. Leave a flower in my comments if you made it this far. I appreciate you so much. Like, comment, subscribe, engage, share this with a friend if you think they'll enjoy it. It really helps my channel out, and we are really getting close to 25,000 subs. That is unbelievable to me, and I have a really cool Q&A video planned for that. And then if and when we get to 50,000 subs, I'm planning on reviewing the 50 Shades of Grey series. Yeah, so if that sounds interesting to you, share my channel with your friends and help us get there faster. Also, if you're looking for a way to support my work, I have a Patreon page and I have a Bindery page, which is basically a bookish Patreon, long story short. And I do a lot of bonus content over there. You get like lifestyle vlogs, behind the scenes reading vlogs, just bonus videos all together. Maybe check that out. Also, please don't forget that my friend Haneen, I'm still fundraising for her and her cousin, also named Haneen, who is trying to safely evacuate Gaza. The links are all down below. And I appreciate you being here and sticking with me through this. It Ends With Us is ending. Yes, I'm done. I don't want to read the second one, but never say never. All right, love you. You don't have to say it back. See you later. Bye.